The cave is open and full of whispers. Green light shivers across the underground lake. A stone basin glows on its lonely island. Somewhere above, the sea presses down. But here the only sound is water lapping against rock and the soft, wet drag of bodies that should not move at all. Regulus Black is half submerged in the lake. Cold, brackish water fills his ears, his nose, his open mouth. The potion burns in his throat, sour and metallic, tasting of rust and ashes and something older than language. His robes are heavy, waterlogged, pulling at his shoulders as if the Black family itself has decided he will not rise again. Hands close around his ankles. Fingers. Bone under rotted skin, slick and unyielding. Another set claws at his wrist, another at his robes, dragging, always dragging. The Inferi do not speak, but their touch is a command. Down. Be still. Join us. On the shore, creature screams. The sound comes thin and high across the water. A broken kettle shriek that Regulus can barely hear over the roaring in his own head. He looks up. He cannot see the elf, only the jagged line of black rock and the faint, sickly gleam from the basin where the locket drank light like a parasite. The same locket now thumps against his chest, a cold weight under soaked fabric, pulsing faintly with its own wrong heartbeat. He coughs, chokes, swallows more of the lake. The potion crawls up again, scorching his throat, fighting the water for space. His thoughts come in fragments, jagged and out of order. Creature's story of this place. Voldemort's soft, amused voice. The dark mark burning on his arm the night he understood what Inferi really were. His mother's portrait shrieking about honor and purity while the world outside their curtains went to war. He has been planning this, he thinks, or tries to. Planning the theft, the switch, the letter no one will ever read, but he had not planned the way death feels when it is cold and patient and made of hands. Another jerk downward. His chin goes under. Green light smears across the surface above him. For a moment, there is no Regulus Black, only pressure and darkness and the weight of all his mistakes. Then something in him refuses. It is not fear. Not really. He has walked willingly into this lake. He knows what the potion is. He knows this is the price. What rises in him now is smaller and sharper than self-preservation, and somehow larger than his own life. The sudden, furious clarity that Voldemort must not win, that this locket must never go back to that pale, careful hand. He claws upward. Fingers numb, nails scraping against dead arms. He drags at the water as if it is solid. His lungs scream. His vision narrows to a single point. The shore. The rock. Creature's hunched shape he can almost imagine. Reaching. Sobbing. Waiting for an order. No words come. There is no spell. No Latin. No wand. No Latin. No one. Only blood, a name, and a childhood full of rooms layered with Black family wards that hummed when he walked through them. Recognizing him, accepting him, more than any description could contain. Something answers. The air around his chest tightens, then bursts outward. A silent concussion. A pulse of ancient, wordless black magic that surges from his heart like a second heartbeat. The lake shudders. Green light fractures. Inferi fly back in a ring, flung away as if the water itself has rejected them. For one impossible instant, Regulus hangs there, suspended in a hollow of clear, trembling water. The locket at his chest flaring with a sick, protesting glow. The ripples race outward into the dark, into the far, still corners of the cave, into a future that is suddenly, impossibly, not the one it was. We will come back to this night, to the hand that refused to drown, to the locket that did not escape, and to the quiet black heir who lived long enough to decide what to do with both. Anchoring the timeline, who Regulus is on the night he should have died. The cave is not quiet. It breathes. The sea hammers the cliff outside, wind pushing salt and rain through cracks in the stone, making the green-black water inside shiver, as if the rock itself is afraid. Late autumn, 1979. A storm off the English coast. Regulus Arcturus Black stands on the narrow ledge of Voldemort's seaside cave for the second time in his life, and he knows exactly what this night is meant to be. He has been planning this since Creature came home broken. That first night, months ago, he had watched the elf appear on the drawing room carpet, with seaweed in his hair and potion burns striping his throat, his arm a map of white scars wherein fiery fingers had closed and dragged, while Burger had raged about the state of the rug. Orion had asked one question, then gone back to his paper. Regulus had knelt on the floor and listened to Creature's halting story until dawn. Now the marks are faded, but not gone. When Creature clutches Regulus's sleeve on the cave shore, those scars stand out like a promise, like a sentence Regulus intends to finish. He inventories his own life the way he has inventoried this mission. 19. Branded with the dark mark, still fresh enough that the skull sometimes itches when Voldemort calls. Officially, he is the dutiful Black Heir, a quiet, pure blood prince who attends meetings, nods in the right places, and lets his mother boast about her son the Dark Lord favors. Unofficially, there are cracks running through every part of that story. They show up in objects. In his bedroom at Grimmauld, dark arts texts lie open with sharp, angry ink in the margins, questions and counter-curses written in a cramped hand that does not quite match the elegant black script he uses for letters. In his pocket tonight, folded so many times the paper has gone soft, is a Daily Prophet article about missing Muggleborns, edges darkened, where his thumb keeps returning to the same 3 names. On the inside of his left sleeve, hidden from even Creature, rests a single sheet of parchment. A note to the Dark Lord he once worshipped, to the man he now intends to rob. He touches it, then the fake locket at his chest, a perfect twin to the one waiting on the island. His wand is in his hand, knuckles white. His plan in the original timeline is simple and terrible. Force the potion down, switch the lockets, summon the Inferi, and die in Creature's place so the elf can escape with proof that Voldemort can be hurt. Penance, he thinks. Not enough, but something. He expects agony. He expects to feel the cave close over his head. Water and hands and cold. And then, nothing. He expects that no one will ever know what he did, that Voldemort will never read the letter, that the locket will pass into some stranger's hands decades from now, poisoning a world he will not live to see. Canon says he dies here. Canon says the Dark Lord never discovers who dared touch his Horcrux, that the locket survives to sit in a ministry office, to hang heavy and hateful around a boy's neck in another war. But the water is already rippling from a different choice. The hand that refused to drown has changed the shape of this night, and this storm becomes a fulcrum. Regulus walks forward, every step carrying not only the weight of what should have been, but the possibility of a world where he walks back out. What happens if the dutiful Black Heir lives long enough to decide that duty belongs to someone else? Rewinding the war, why the locket matters more than it seems. The locket is small, its shadow is not. Years before Regulus walks into that cave, Tom Riddle is standing in a different drawing room, smiling at Hepzibah Smith. He has been planning this. A stolen cup, a stolen locket, a murdered collector whose house elf takes the blame. Slytherin's heirloom passes from a vain old witch to a young monster, then into potion-thick darkness on a hidden shore. Riddle cuts his soul again, seals it in gold and green, and believes the sea itself will keep his secret. From there, the locket's path is a map of how careless that belief becomes. Regulus sends Creature back with the real Horcrux and a shaking body full of potion. Creature returns to Grimmauld Place, hides the thing in a cupboard because his master told him to, and the war rolls on above his head. Years later, Grimmauld is abandoned. The Order moves in, and Mundungus Fletcher quietly strips the house of anything that glitters. He sells the locket to a ministry toad with a fondness for stolen power. Dolores Umbridge pins it to her cardigan like a badge of blood purity, never knowing it holds a piece of her Dark Lord's soul. By the time Harry, Ron, and Hermione walk into the ministry under Polyjuice, the locket has already changed shape again. It is now a target, a risk, and a test. They steal it back from Umbridge's throat, escape by inches, and then carry it with them through woods and rain and empty fields. Around Harry's neck, then Ron's, then hanging between them like a third voice. The locket does not shout. It whispers. It looks for every raw edge and presses. Fear, resentment, hopelessness. Each thought sharpened, each insecurity replayed until Ron sees not a friend, but a rival. Not a girl who cares, but a girl who might leave. Under its weight, the camping arc in the Forest of Dean becomes less a journey and more a slow unraveling. Ron walks out into the night, words thrown like curses, and for a while the trio is not a trio at all. Voldemort, meanwhile, never checks. He does not return to the cave, does not count his anchors, does not imagine that a frightened house elf and a teenage black could have undone him. His overconfidence is almost another Horcrux, invisible and lethal. He assumes the protections are infallible, assumes his followers are incapable of betrayal, assumes immortality is a solved problem. Dumbledore has to work in the dark created by that arrogance. He has been planning this too, but his planning is slower, built from memories coaxed out of Slughorn, from a cursed ring, from patterns in Tom Riddle's obsessions. Each destroyed Horcrux is another confirmation that his terrible theory is right. The diary, the ring, the locket, the cup, the snake, the boy. One missing decades earlier would not just shorten the list, it would change the entire investigation. If the locket vanished in 1979, Dumbledore's timeline, his sense of how desperate Voldemort is, even the way he reads the prophecy, all begin to bend, so the central what-if sharpens. If Regulus not only stole but destroyed the locket that year, Voldemort would feel the loss somehow, if only as a hairline crack in his certainty. Does paranoia make him more cautious with his remaining Horcruxes, or more brutal with his enemies? Does Dumbledore notice the shift in his patterns of attack? When Harry and Hermione finally stand in the ruins of this altered war, looking for anchors that no longer exist, how different does their quest look? He looks at her. She looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them that is more than any description could contain. Because changing the locket's fate is not just about saving Regulus, it is about rewriting every choice that followed its pulse through the dark. The moment of divergence, Regulus chooses survival and destruction. The cave is open and full of breathing, salt on his tongue, the slow drip of water, the green, motionless lake that looks back at him like an eye. Regulus stands at the edge of the stone island and knows, with the clear, cold certainty of a black, that this is meant to be a tomb. Creature whimpers behind him. Soft, terrified sounds. The same sounds he made when he came back the first time, burned and shaking, clutching at Regulus's robes and babbling about the Dark Lord, about a potion that made him drink, about dead bodies in the water. Regulus had held him then. He had listened. He has been planning this ever since. He touches the fake locket under his shirt. Heavy, cold, engraved with the black crest. A letter already written in his mind, even if his hand has not yet met parchment. To the one who finds this, I have stolen the secret of the Dark Lord's immortality. It had sounded so final when he composed it in the dark of his bedroom, walls covered in that screaming tapestry. Sirius's name burned away. Sirius. For a moment the cave falls away, and he is 12 again, watching his brother's trunk levitate down the hall, watching his mother's face harden into stone. You have shamed us. You are no son of mine. Sirius had walked out into another world and never looked back. Regulus had stayed. Someone had to. Someone had to know everything the Blacks knew and decide what it was for. He had gone to the family library, past the curses on the door, past the shrieking ink that tried to bite. He had read about soul jars in crumbling French, about wizards who split themselves and went mad, about cursed artifacts that could only be unmade with blood and will and very old magic. He had traced his finger over a diagram of a ritual circle inked by some grim black ancestor, half understanding, half inventing the rest. Now the potion rises in the stone basin like a challenge. He drinks. It burns like liquid fear. It drags every regret to the surface, every image of Sirius laughing with people who are not him, every scream creature ever made. He falls, hands on stone. The cave spins. The potion shows him Sirius dead on a floor he does not recognize, shows Grimmauld Place empty, shows the tapestry burned to ash. If he dies here, the vision whispers, the locket stays. Hidden, safe, waiting for the Dark Lord to return. That is the moment that changes. Dying here buys nothing. The thought cuts through the pain like a blade. If he lets the Inferi take him, Voldemort's soul remains anchored. the world still ends. Only one more foolish black boy is gone. He hears the water stir, hears Creature sobbing his name. The lake is waking up. Instinct moves where thought cannot. Old lessons from a childhood of rituals and bloodlines, from watching his father draw sigils in wine and ash. He drags his hand across the rough stone, splits skin on purpose, lets blood drip toward the water. By black blood, he rasps, words scraping out of a throat raw from screaming. I ward what is mine. The charm is half remembered, meant for doorways and thresholds, for keeping out things that do not belong. But magic knows lineage better than intention. The blood hits the water and flares, dull red, a thin, trembling circle around the island. The first pale hands that rise from the depths recoil as if burned. Master, Creature gasps. Master Regulus, we must go, we must. Regulus forces his eyes open. The fake locket is in his hand now, slick with sweat. The real one gleams in the basin, dark and hateful. Creature, he manages, each word a battle. Take the real locket. Not just you, both of us. Do you hear me? Get us both out. The elf hesitates, bound by orders, by love, by terror. They look at each other. A moment of understanding passes between them, more than any description could contain. Creature reaches into the basin, snatches the Horcrux, shoves the fake into its place with shaking fingers. The blood ward flickers. The Inferi press against it, teeth bared, faces blank. The circle is too thin. It will not hold. Creature grabs Regulus's arm. Side-along apparition is never meant for this much dead weight, this much failing consciousness. But house elf magic does not care about rules written by humans. The world twists. The cave, the lake, the reaching hands all smear into darkness. For one suspended heartbeat, there is nothing but the feel of cold metal against his chest and Creature's grip like iron. Then, they are gone. The Inferi crash back into the black water as the blood ward collapses. The fake locket lies on the stone, patient. Somewhere in the crushing dark between places, Regulus Black hangs between life and death, clutching the real Horcrux, and the question is no longer whether he survives the cave. It is what a half-broken black heir does next with a piece of Voldemort's soul in his hands. Hidden in Grimmauld, a ghost in his own house. Silence. Not the clean, empty kind. This is a silence padded with dust, with old spells, with the weight of every black who ever whispered in these halls. 12 Grimmauld Place holds its breath, while Berger's portrait dozes in its frame, mouth slack after a night of screaming at no one in particular. The air smells of damp stone, wax, and something older, a bitter tang of magic baked into the wood. Behind 3 layers of ancestral wards and a door no one has opened in years, Regulus Black lies half dead on a narrow, carved sickbed, while Creature presses a damp cloth to his face. The potion has not left him. It crawls in his veins, turns his muscles to water, sets his heart racing at sounds that are not there. When he closes his eyes, the Inferi rise again, white hands breaking the surface of black water. When he opens them, he sees only the cracked ceiling of a forgotten bedroom and the house elf who will not look away. He has been planning this, Creature thinks, in his own limited, stubborn way. To die in the cave, to save his master from a worse death. Instead, he drags Regulus through a world between places, apparates blind, and lands them in the only home he knows. Now, they make that home smaller, safer, more hidden. Unused rooms are sealed with black family magic, quiet, vicious things that bite at anyone who is not keyed to them. Creature walks the corridors under a glamour that blurs his features, makes him look older, more stooped, less like the elf who used to answer the door. To the outside world, Regulus went on a mission for the Dark Lord and never returned. A missing Death Eater is not news. It is an accounting error. Days blur. Regulus's hands shake when he reaches for water. His voice cracks when he tries to say the cave was real. The nightmares do not wait for sleep. They leak into waking, until he cannot stand the sound of dripping taps or the sight of still water in a basin. But there is one fixed point that pulls him through the fog. The locket. It sits now in a black family vault inside the house, not at Gringotts, guarded by wards that answer to his blood inheritance and no one else's. Still, he does not trust distance. On a small table by his bed, a A heavily warded box never leaves his line of sight. He sleeps with one hand resting against its side, feeling for the faint, wrong thrum within. Around it, his new life accretes in layers. A cluttered desk of parchment and ink, lines of cramped writing where he tries to pin down what a soul is, and what happens when you tear it. Stacks of dark arts tomes looted from the family library, their margins filling with his new notes, corrections, questions, furious crossings out, when old theory fails to match what he knows the locket to be. He walks the room in slow circuits, testing his strength, reciting fragments from memory, ritual sequences, curse structures, half-remembered lectures from Death Eater gatherings where Voldemort spoke of conquering death without ever saying how. Every step is a refusal. Every breath is an act of treason. Officially, Regulus Black is dead. The Dark Lord does not call his name. The mark on his arm lies dull and cold. Sirius, somewhere out in the wider world, curses this house and everything it stands for, never knowing his brother is a shadow pressed against its bones. They look at each other only in memory now, in the echo of slammed doors and the taste of words they never unsaid. So, Regulus becomes what the house already believes him to be, a ghost. He moves in the gaps between footsteps, listens when Order members will one day gather in rooms they think are empty, builds his understanding of the Locket piece by piece. He is increasingly defined by a single, burning goal: destroy the thing he stole from the Dark Lord, and with it, the lie of immortality. If he succeeds, the war outside these walls will change long before anyone knows his name again. Decoding a Horcrux, Regulus's secret research wall. The house is quiet except for turning pages and the faint, sour pulse of the Locket. Night in Grimmauld Place. Regulus sits alone in the Black family library, with a stack of open volumes spreading around him like a siege. Old leather, greenish parchment, cracked spines stamped with serpents and constellations. He has been planning this without quite admitting it to himself, raiding shelves his parents never meant him to touch, cross-referencing curses, binding rituals, anything that mentions objects that think back. He starts with what he knows. Pure-blood families collect dangerous things and then pretend they do not. A music box that drives listeners mad if the tune finishes. A mirror that shows only the moment of your death. A ring that whispers in Parseltongue. Each entry is half a warning, half a boast. Each skirts something, stops just short of a word the authors refuse to write. He notices the pattern first. Spells that require murder, not as consequence, but as fuel. Stories of wizards who tried to tear their souls on purpose, who walked away from killing with eyes that never quite focused again. Marginal notes written in 3 different black hands. Do not attempt. Magic that stains the caster forever. He reads about hearts hidden outside bodies in old fairy tales, about liches in eastern forests, about anchors. No one calls it by name. The locket lies on the table, dull gold in the lamplight. It looks harmless. It is not. When he brought it home, Creature grew short-tempered, snapping at empty air, muttering louder than usual. The elf's gnarled fingers twitched whenever he passed the cabinet where Regulus first hid it, as if some invisible current pulled at his bones. Regulus tests it the way a cautious curse-breaker might. He circles it with detection charms, watches the ink on monitoring parchments bead and run. He sits across from it for an hour, then 2, then 3, recording what happens to his own thoughts. After 10 minutes, every memory of the cave feels closer than it should. After 20, every slight from his childhood tastes fresh. After 30, he is thinking about power in a way that feels like someone else's voice wearing his cadence. He looks away. The pressure eases. He looks back. The darkness in his chest answers. He closes the locket in a lead-lined box, and the room exhales. Weeks pass. He walks from shelf to shelf, tracing the same path, pulling the same forbidden tomes. He has been planning this, he realizes now, ever since Creature crawled back from the cave and Voldemort called it a test. One phrase keeps reappearing, in different languages, in different centuries, the divided soul. Another, rarer, the externalized fragment. Finally, in a French grimoire that a black ancestor tried very hard to burn, he finds it. A description of a ritual that requires deliberate murder, a prepared vessel, and an incantation designed to tear the soul. The word is there at last, cramped between wards and warnings. Horcrux. He does not say it aloud. The text is clear. Such magic does not merely corrupt. It structures the caster's existence around the objects they create. Destroy the vessel, and the fragment is forced back into the current of death. Leave it intact, and the creator becomes something that should not end. He sits very still. The cave. The way Voldemort hid the locket behind poison and in fury and secrecy. The way his mark feels colder when he holds it. The way the Dark Lord walks through the world as if time is a trivial inconvenience. A moment of understanding passes between scattered facts and becomes certainty. Voldemort has anchored himself to the locket. And if he has done it once, he has done it more than once. The war is not just against a powerful wizard. It is against a network of hidden lives. Stealing the locket was never going to be enough. Regulus closes the book, rests his hand on the lead box, feels the faint, hateful thrum through the metal. To win, the Horcrux must be unmade, not merely misplaced. That means using magic even Black ancestors only wrote about in margins. Magic buried under Walburga's shrieks and family oaths. Magic that could break him as surely as it breaks the locket. He stands, already choosing which hidden cupboard to open next. He is going to learn how to kill a piece of a soul. Black family magic, turning ancestral darkness against Voldemort. The cellar is dark and close, and humming. Grimmauld Place. Weeks after the cave. The house feels different now, like it is waiting to see what he will do. Regulus walks with a candle and a stack of brittle, leather-bound books taken from behind Walburga's screaming portrait. Family grimoires, half warding manual, half confession. He has been planning this, paging through cramped black handwriting that never expected to be read by a son who doubted the Dark Lord. He learns what his ancestors trusted more than the Ministry. Blood wards that bind a traitor's tongue. Oaths that can shatter a line to keep it from dilution. Rituals that do not ask permission from the world, so much as carve out a quiet, vicious exception. There are diagrams for vault keys that answer only to black blood, for chains that will not fall from a prisoner's wrist until a debt is paid, for boxes that swallow cursed artifacts and sleep under foundations for 100 years. One margin note catches him, a rite for cleansing a black heirloom that has turned against the family. It speaks of goblin silver that began reflecting madness instead of faces, of a necklace that carried a blood feud curse from wearer to wearer. The solution is not smashing, not a curse breaker from Gringotts, but a controlled unbinding, heir's blood, ancestral fire, words that rewrite ownership. He traces the ink with one finger. This, he thinks, was written by someone who understood that power can rot. Adapting it for the locket is not simple. The original rite assumes the object belongs to the family and has merely been twisted. Voldemort's Horcrux is worse. It is a foreign soul hooked into metal, using the black crest on the casing like camouflage. So Regulus rewrites the circle. He has been planning this for nights, copying runes onto spare parchment, testing them in chalk on the cellar floor, watching how the old stones drink in the shapes. He will stand as both heir and thief, his blood to assert black dominion over the metal, his theft to challenge the soul that squats inside it. The hearth in the oldest kitchen, the one his great-grandfather used for winter solstice oaths, becomes the focus. He feeds it carefully, splinters from an old black wand, a scrap of the tapestry Walburga tore Sirius from, a page from a book that praised pure-blood supremacy. Then he adds something the ritual never imagined, a spoken rejection, not just of the Locket's corruption, but of Voldemort himself. Words that say, this house, this line, this magic will not be yours. In a world where most Death Eaters bow in silence, saying it aloud feels like tearing off a mask. The risks are everywhere. The text warns that if the heir misdraws a line, the curse can rebound and scour the bloodline instead of the metal. Here, that could mean his heart stopping, or Grimmauld wards imploding, turning the townhouse into a crater. Worse, if he fails to anchor the soul shard, it might rip free of the locket and cling to the nearest living mind. He thinks of Creature, of the way the elf shakes when he remembers green potion and dead hands. No. Containment first. So he prepares. Salt to mark a second, in a ring. A a black signet to press into hot wax at the circle's edge, a silver bowl for blood. Creature watches, eyes wide, clutching a folded letter Regulus has written in case this goes wrong. If the house starts to fall, Regulus says quietly, you take the Locket's ashes, you take that letter, and you apparate. Somewhere the Dark Lord will never look. Do you understand? Creature nods, throat working. A moment of understanding passes between them. They look at each other, heir and servant, bound by something older than any mark. The runes are ready. The hearth waits. The locket lies in the center of the circle, dull and hateful. Regulus steps forward, knife in hand, and wonders, not for the first time, what will be left of him if he wins. And if he loses, who will ever know that a black tried to unmake a monster decades too early? The night the locket dies, a different kind of sacrifice. The air is Rom, cold, heavy, tasting faintly of metal and old smoke. Deep beneath Grimmauld Place, in a cellar no black child was ever meant to see, the walls close in around a circle of chalk and ash and carved family sigils. Old constellations, knotted serpents, the proud, cruel crest of the House of Black, redrawn as a prison. Candles stand at each point of the circle, not ordinary flame, greenish black, burning low and steady, giving off more shadow than light. In the center, above the soot-stained hearth, the locket hangs suspended on an invisible tether, its chain taut, its surface dull, as if it remembers the cave and resents being here. Creature stands just outside the circle, fingers twisting in front of him, great eyes wider than they have ever been. He has seen Inferi rise from black water. He has felt the burn of that potion in his veins. This is worse. The house itself seems to be listening. Regulus breathes once, twice. He has been planning this for months, walking through every step in his mind the way other young wizards walk through Quidditch plays, consulting every cursed page he dared open, cross-checking his own grimoires with things stolen from Voldemort's followers and older, darker books from the Black Library that his parents never read past the title. He lifts the knife, silver, old, etched with the same sigils that ring the floor. His hand does not shake. Not yet. Do not step inside the circle, he tells Creature quietly. Creature obeys. The elf whispers, voice raw. Creature watches. Regulus begins to chant. Latin first, the clean, sharp syllables of Roman wardmakers and curse breakers, words that once guarded temples and tombs. Then older sounds, rough on the tongue, the language of the first families who carved their rights into stone and blood. The candles gutter, then flare. The locket trembles. He draws the blade across his palm. Blood drips, slow and bright, pattering onto the metal. Each drop hisses. The house shudders, a low groan running through beams and brick, as if something in the locket is dragging nails down the spine of Grimmauld Place. The whispers start softly, parcel tongue, dry and intimate, like a snake coiled behind his ear. Promises, threats, a suggestion that he could still kneel, still live, still be the favored black. Then the visions come, serious, laughing, but wrong, eyes cold, mouth twisted, mocking his little brother for thinking he could matter. Wilburger's portrait shrieking from every wall at once, calling him traitor, blood traitor, worse than his brother. A spectral face, pale and unfinished, presses against the inside of the locket's surface, features sliding like wax, almost Voldemort, not yet whole. The chain jerks, the circle strains. One candle goes out with a pop, plunging half the sigils into deeper shadow. Regulus sways. The magic claws at him, trying to peel back memory, to show him every choice that led him here and ask, very softly, whether any of it will matter. He could reach for redemption, for his own name cleared at the bank, in the Wizengamot, in some future world that might speak it kindly. He refuses the thought. He anchors himself instead to something smaller and far more stubborn, a child he will never meet, standing where he once stood, marked and alone before a dark lord who cannot die. Potter, Longbottom, some other name, it does not matter. No child should face this. Blood runs faster now, tracing lines in the air around the locket, binding, constricting. He pushes more power into the words, feeling them scrape his throat raw. The locket screams. No sound at first, only pressure, then a high, tearing shriek that only he and creature can hear. The metal bulges, cracks. A sickly, luminous light forces its way out, green tinged with yellow, the color of bad potions and worse intentions burning away. The half-formed face contorts, stretches, and rips apart. The chain snaps. The locket falls into the hearth as the candles all flare at once, then gutter down to thin, ordinary flame. When the light dies, only twisted, ruined metal remains. No pulse of wrongness, no whisper. The cellar feels different, as if someone has opened a window in a house that has been sealed for generations. Creature gasps. Regulus staggers, catching himself on the brick. For a heartbeat, he almost smiles. Somewhere far away, a Dark Lord pauses, frowns, and does not yet know why. Regulus does, and he also knows this is only the first piece of a secret war no one else even realizes has begun. Voldemort's shiver, a Dark Lord without a name for his fear. A room without windows. Stone walls, damp and old. A fire that burns too low for warmth. Little Hangleton. The Riddle House. Some forgotten upper chamber the family never used. Voldemort stands beside the fireplace, one pale hand resting on the carved mantel, speaking softly to a masked figure kneeling on the threadbare rug. Then he stops. The Death Eater does not know why. No one ever does. The Dark Lord's crimson eyes narrow, unfocused, as if listening for a sound that never reaches the air. A flicker. A shiver that is not quite physical. For the smallest fraction of a second, he feels less. He has been planning this war for years, layering curses over safe houses, binding followers, splitting his soul with precise, obsessive care. Each Horcrux a fixed point in a world he intends to break and rebuild. Now, without warning, something in that invisible architecture tilts, like a picture knocked slightly askew on a wall. A chill runs down his spine, irritating. He straightens, jaw tightening. A headache presses behind his eyes, dull and insistent. Fatigue, he decides. The cost of greatness. The strain of constant apparition. Of the Cruciatus. Of maintaining so many layered protections that even he no longer bothers to name them all. He dismisses it. Of course he does. To acknowledge more would be to admit there is anything in this world that could touch him without his consent. Yet the sensation lingers, thin as smoke. He turns back to the kneeling man and, with no change in expression, raises his wand. The report is late, the failure minor. The punishment is not. The scream that follows is longer than it needs to be. After that night, his habits shift. No one speaks of it, but they feel it in every gathering. He arrives earlier to meetings, leaves later, walks the perimeter of each lair himself, fingers trailing over stone as if listening for betrayal. New wards bloom around his strongholds, cruel, intricate, overlapping in ways that make even seasoned Death Eaters uneasy to cross. He looks more often at the masks than at the maps. Wonders, not aloud, who might be imagining a life beyond him. Pure blood families who keep their own vaults at Gringotts, who write careful letters to both sides, who know how to wait out storms. The blacks. The knots, the green grasses. The blacks most of all. They have given him sons, gold, a name that opens doors. They have not given him everything. Their house is old, their magic older, and they have always walked a narrow line between fanaticism and pride. So he tests them. A cousin ordered to prove himself with an unnecessary killing. A quiet demand for heirlooms, artifacts, access to family wards. Each request edged just sharp enough to draw blood if refused. Wilburger's shrill devotion pleases him less than it once did. Regulus's eager obedience is watched more closely. Sirius's open defiance becomes, in hindsight, almost honest. The nameless unease never fully fades. It coils under his decisions like a shadow, nudging him toward overkill, the urgency with which he pursues the prophecy, the choice to strike at the Potters rather than wait, the reckless confidence with which he walks into Godric's Hollow, believing himself untouchable. Years later, when another Horcrux falls, and that same wrongness slams through him harder, he will remember this first, softer shiver without knowing what it was. Just that once, long ago, something in his carefully divided soul had already begun to come undone, and somewhere in a dark house in London, a different Black Air is already writing down everything he has learned. Sirius versus Regulus, a family war inside a larger war. The house is not silent. It hums with old magic and older grudges. Grimald Place, late 1979. In one bedroom, a wall still bears scorch marks where a name was blasted off. In another, a younger son sits at a desk, writing a careful hand that will one day be mistaken for a final letter. He has been planning this for months. Lists of names, symbols, tiny, coded marks that only a black would notice. To understand what this war does to the brothers, you have to go back. Sirius, 16, storming out with a trunk, a broom, and a world's worth of anger. He walks past the family tapestry without looking, past Regulus standing stiff in the doorway, Slytherin tie straight, jaw clenched. Sirius runs to the Potters, to laughter and light, and a kitchen that smells of cinnamon. Regulus stays, lets the dark mark burn into his arm, and everyone thinks they know what that means. For a while, the silence between them is almost a third brother. No letters, no visits, just headlines, Potters host order meeting, and whispers. Young Black joins the Dark Lord, filling in everything they do not say. Walburga calls one son blood traitor, the other heir. The choice hardens like stone. Then, word reaches Sirius in the Order safe house. Regulus has disappeared on a Death Eater mission. No body, no witnesses, just a line in Moody's growled briefing and a flicker of satisfaction around the table. One less mask to fight. Sirius feels it hit like a hex to the ribs. Part of him is grimly glad. This is what happens when you bow to Voldemort. Another part remembers a boy who shared a toy broom, who covered for him when Creature nearly caught them raiding the pantry. Buried under the jokes, there is a quiet, traitorous thought. Maybe he realized, too late, what he'd joined. Maybe this is his way out. In the dark house Regulus has not quite left. Another story is unfolding. He sits in that same bedroom, alive, listening as Creature mutters news while he polishes silver. The Daily Prophet lies folded on the desk. Sirius Black scene with Potter couple. Regulus traces the ink, then pulls his hand back, as if burned. He could write. One letter. One warning. He looks at the black signet ring, at an old family heirloom mirror wrapped in cloth. A perfect conduit, a perfect code. He almost sends it. He imagines Sirius opening the package at the Potter's table, frowning, then understanding. They look at each other across years of anger in his mind, and for a moment it is almost real. Then he stops. Voldemort is watching his followers too closely. Any contact could mark Sirius, draw the Dark Lord's eye straight to the only person who ever walked away from this house and stayed gone. Regulus decides his best contribution is to stay hidden, to tear at Voldemort's immortality from the shadows, to let Sirius think him dead if it keeps him safe. That choice hangs over them like a curse that never quite lands. Because if Regulus ever steps back into the light, if the Locket's destruction forces him into the open, Sirius will have to choose what he sees when he looks at his brother. A traitor who wore the mark, a coward who stayed silent, or a different kind of rebel who fought the same war from a darker angle. And that decision will matter, because the next moves in this war will demand more from the Black family than any of them are ready to give. The Black family splits, Walburga, Orion, and the politics of betrayal. The house reacts first, not with wands or wards, but with a portrait scream. Walburga's painted throat opens and does not close. The sound crawls through Grimald Place, into every crack, into the old dust and the elf bones, and the family silver that remembers better days. Regulus is gone. The Dark Lord has not sent a body, not even a letter. Only a murmured report from a masked man at a gathering Walburga was not important enough to attend. Her younger son, the obedient one, the one who did not run away like Sirius, has died in the Dark Lord's service. She makes that sentence into a shrine. She has been planning this without knowing it. Every lecture, every insult, every time she carved the word traitor into Sirius with her voice. Now she doubles down. The banners come out of trunks. The old black motto is polished and hung above the hearth. She orders Creature to scrub away anything that looks like doubt. In her mind, Voldemort becomes the only thing that gave Regulus's choices meaning. If he died for the Dark Lord, then the Dark Lord must be right. Anything else would mean her son wasted his blood. And Walburga Black does not believe in waste. Orion is quieter. If he is still alive in this version, he sits in the study with the door closed, ledger open, quill moving. If he is dead, his careful script remains in the family books, a colder echo. Either way, the work is the same. Names of allied families, notes in the margin, arrows where fortunes have shifted. A new line under Regulus, presumed fallen in service. A smaller, private note. No body. No verification. He looks at the pattern, not the portrait. Death Eaters lost in raids. Promises made and not fulfilled. Vaults emptied to fund a war that does not seem to end. He does not shout. He adjusts. A loan quietly called in here. An invitation declined there. A marriage contract delayed. On parchment, in ink, the Black Alliances bend a fraction away from absolute trust. Other pure blood houses watch. The Rosiers speak of Regulus as a martyr, a noble boy who walked into darkness for their cause. The Greengrasses are more cautious. In their drawing room, someone asks, too softly, why the Dark Lord could not protect such a loyal servant. In a corner, a younger heir listens and understands that followers are replaceable. The Black family tapestry does not answer. It only changes. A new burn mark blooms over Regulus's name. Not the jagged fury of Sirius's erasure, something more precise, as if the magic itself is unsure what story it's telling. Blood traitor? Coward? Secret hero? No one knows. But the mark draws eyes at every visit. Children look and whisper. Older relatives look and say nothing. They look at each other. A moment of understanding passes between them that has more weight than any toast. If a black can vanish like that, so can they. In this world, those whispers matter. A cousin who delays answering the dark mark. A lord who sends half the gold he promised. A matriarch who smiles at a ministry official a little too warmly. Tiny acts of hesitation that Voldemort, in his arrogance, does not immediately see. By the time he feels the Locket's absence like a missing tooth in his soul, the fracture has already begun. His hold on certain pure blood factions, his hairline cracked, threaded with doubt, ready to split when pressure comes. And pressure is coming, from a direction none of them expect yet. A boy and a girl who will one day walk into Gringotts with blood inheritance on their side, and a very different idea of what old magic is for. Butterfly effects, a war where one sole anchor is already gone. The war does not notice at first. How could it? One cursed locket dissolved in cave water, one thread of soul unspooled when no one is watching. Autumn rain over Britain. Auras and Death Eaters move through it like pieces on a board no one fully understands. The first wizarding war grinds on, but something in its center is thinner, less absolute. Voldemort still walks like he owns the night. Yet when he raises his wand in a raid outside Bath, the killing curse snaps from him with the faintest delay, as if the world is a fraction slower to obey. No one there has language for soul anchors or magical load-bearing points. They only know that Alistair Moody lives. The curse misses his heart by inches, scorches stone instead of bone. Later, in a St. Mungo's bed with half his ribs knitted, Moody will say Voldemort felt different, not weaker, just less inevitable. It happens again in a skirmish near Hogsmeade. McGonagall stands in front of two terrified students, her wand steady, her tartan cloak soaked with sleet. Voldemort's hex, a twisting thing of green and black, should shatter her shield. It hits, flares, fractures, and holds long enough for her to apparate sideways with the children. She will never be sure how she managed it. She has been planning this stand for weeks, rehearsing transfigurations in empty classrooms. Even so, she feels as if the magic itself gave her one impossible second. Across these battles, the pattern is tiny, almost petty. A stunning spell from a young Order member lands where it should have gone wide. A Protego that should have failed instead shivers and stays. Voldemort is still terrible, still wrong, still a presence like a wound in the air. But there are hairline gaps where before there would have been smooth, unbroken terror. Dumbledore notices. Of course he does. He looks at reports, at memories drawn out in silvery threads, at the way Voldemort's magic behaves in a dozen separate duels. He has been planning this study of Tom's power since the boy in the orphanage showed him a box of stolen trinkets. Now, watching a replay of Bath, he leans closer as the killing curse stutters. Just a flicker. But there, he feels it when they finally cross wands in person. The magic that pours from Voldemort is still fractured, still horribly divided against itself, but not quite as bottomless as he feared. Not impenetrable, not endless. A moment of understanding passes between them, though only one of them can name it. Dumbledore thinks of soul magic, of the old, half-forbidden theories he has avoided writing down in any letter. Does this nudge him sooner toward the prophecy, or away from it? In this version of the world, he stands longer at that window outside the Hall of Prophecy, hand hovering just short of the glass. If Voldemort can be hurt, truly hurt, without a child being marked, is it not his duty to try? He almost turns fully toward the idea of ending the war by his own hand, sparing any chosen infant. Almost. Because vulnerability is not the same as defeat. Voldemort's missing soul shard makes him more volatile, more prone to sudden cruelties that drive new recruits into his arms, even as they terrify the old families. The war bends, but it does not break. So the Potters still go into hiding. The Fidelius is still cast. The night in Godric's Hollow still comes, though the duel on the stairs is longer, closer, more than any description could contain. Lily buys Harry's life with seconds gained from a Dark Lord, whose power is a fraction less anchored. And that fraction is enough. Voldemort falls. The house explodes. And somewhere, deep under the lake, the destroyed Locket lies quiet, shaping a victory its maker will never understand. But the real change, the one that will matter when a boy and a girl walk into Gringotts years later, is only just beginning to surface. The prophecy reconsidered, Potter, Longbottom, or a hidden black? The chamber is open and full of whispers. Not the cave this time. A different room. A different echo. Albus Dumbledore stands very still, a cracked golden locket on the table between his hands, and hears a prophecy he thought he understood rearrange itself in his mind. He has been planning this conversation with himself for years without knowing it. A child born as the 7th month dies, marked as the Dark Lord's equal, possessing a power he knows not. Either must die at the hand of the other, for neither can live while the other survives. He can recite Sybil Trelawney's words the way other men might whisper prayers. But now there is this ruined thing, once a vessel for a torn soul, and the timeline no longer fits as neatly as it did, because the locket fell first. Regulus Arcturus Black, pure blood heir of an ancient house, walks into a cursed cave and walks out again, leaving one fragment of Voldemort's immortality drowned and silent beneath the lake. No prophecy has named him. No scar has marked him. Yet he has done something the Dark Lord believed impossible. He has used old family magic, black wards and blood and binding oaths, to unmake what should have Anchorday would be immortal. A power Voldemort does not know, because he never respected it, because he thought the Blacks would kneel forever. Dumbledore looks at the dates. Regulus's disappearance. The First War's sharp turn into paranoia. The way Voldemort began hunting for traitors in his own ranks, tightening his inner circle, striking faster, less carefully. He remembers the night the Potters went into hiding, the Longbottoms reinforced, the order stretched thin between two possible chosen boys. What if the prophecy was never about a single strike, he thinks, but about a long weakening? Pattern interrupt. Perhaps the prophecy did not begin with Harry at all. He sits, fingers steepled, and lets the idea unfold. A multi-generational working. Regulus wounds the Dark Lord's immortality before the prophecy child is even identified. Lily's sacrifice turns an unforgivable into a rebounding curse. James buys seconds with a wandless lunge that should not have mattered, and somehow does. Years later, a boy with a lightning scar and a girl with a notebook walk into Gringotts and start asking the bank questions no first year should even know to form. Each step small on its own, together more than any description could contain. Under the surface of everything, Voldemort feels it. Not consciously, he has buried too much of himself to name the unease. But there is a gap where a Horcrux should be, a missing anchor, and so the prophecy digs deeper under his skin. He could wait, watch both families, Potter and Longbottom, weigh his options. Instead, he lunges. The half-blood boy whose mother defied him thrice feels like the safer target, the insult he wants most to erase. Fear makes him impatient. Impatience sends him to Godric's Hollow. Is this war, then, about a single savior? Or is it about a chain of people, each taking one piece of Voldemort's supposed invincibility and breaking it in their own way? Regulus in the cave, Lily in the nursery, James in the hallway, Harry in a graveyard he does not yet know exists, Hermione beside him, reading, planning, seeing structures he only feels. He looks at her. She looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them that Dumbledore will recognize when he sees it. The prophecy may point at one, but it is carried by many. And somewhere, beneath the lake and behind a goblin-warded vault door, that quiet, broken Locket is still rewriting what Chosen One really means. Halloween 1981, in a world with one less Horcrux. The cottage is quiet and full of breath. A child asleep upstairs. A woman humming without quite knowing she is. A wand on the kitchen table. Within reach, a knot. October 31st, 1981. Godric's Hollow. Outside, a figure walks up the lane, robes whispering over fallen leaves, each step measured. He has been planning this for months, following whispers, letters intercepted, the secret of the Fidelius teased from a weak link in the chain. The world seems to lean toward that front door as his pale hand rises. The Fidelius breaks, not with a sound, but with an absence. A cottage that was fog becomes sharp, solid, terribly vulnerable. Inside, James looks up from a scattered chessboard, from a life he thought hidden behind unbreakable magic, and reaches for his wand. The door blasts inward. Green light, a body falling on the stairs, a scream from above. Lily runs, bare feet on wood, Harry in his cot, the air humming with a protection older than any ministry decree. She does not know the word Horcrux. She does not know how many pieces of soul are already walking the world. She only knows this if she stands here, if she refuses to move. Something in the deep grammar of magic will notice. She looks at her son. More than any description could contain passes between mother and child in that heartbeat. Voldemort enters the nursery with his wand already raised. He has been planning this since the prophecy first brushed his awareness, weighing Longbottom against Potter, bloodlines and possible futures like entries in a cold ledger. He chooses. He kills. Or he thinks he will. The curse hits Lily. Then Harry. Then something else. The missing locket does not stop the rebounding spell. It does not save his body. It cannot undo years of calculated mutilation. But it matters. His soul is fractured, yet marginally less so. One anchor already burned out in a cave he has not revisited. So when the killing curse snaps back along the line of intent, the soul that tears free has a fraction more wholeness, and therefore a fraction more to lose. The wraith that peels away from his ruined body is thinner, less anchored. It clings to the edge of existence like smoke on a high wind. Possession comes harder. The first snake he tries to ride shakes him off. Rats die under the strain. When he finally finds Quirrell years later, he is not a strategist choosing a useful host so much as a starving thing grabbing the first viable mind that does not collapse. His early attempts at return are more frantic, more wasteful, leaving odd, brittle scars in the places he passes. And somewhere far away, in a shuttered room at Grimmauld Place, Regulus Black wakes with a start. No owl, no letter, just a shift in the air, a pressure easing where the locket once pressed against the fabric of the world. He does not know details, not yet, but he knows something. The Dark Lord has fallen. And this time, Regulus is alive to feel the axis of the war tilt. Down in the ruined cottage, Harry cries. Blood protection seals around him. The scar burns. In the broad strokes, history holds, Voldemort falls, the boy who lived survives. The magical world will tell the same story in the Prophet tomorrow. But under the surface, the balance is altered. One Horcrux gone decades early. One soul shard missing from the lattice of his return. One hidden black air already moving pieces in the dark. The second rise will come. It will simply not be the same war. Years in the walls. Regulus as the war's forgotten archivist. The house is too quiet. No dark marks burning on forearms. No masked visitors stepping out of the flue. No mother's shriek echoing down the corridor. Just the slow tick of an old black clock. Creatures muttering in distant rooms. And Regulus walking the same paths until the carpets remember his footsteps. Months after Voldemort's fall, Grimmauld Place feels like a mausoleum that has not yet decided who it is mourning. Wilburga's portrait sleeps more than she rants. Orion's study door stays shut. The family tapestry shows more scorched gaps than faces. a genealogy of absence. Regulus stands before it often, hands behind his back, reading the burned spaces as if they are reports from the front. He has been planning this new war in his head, the quiet one, the one fought with ink and memory instead of curses. The locket is gone, dissolved in potion and fire in a warded cellar no one else will ever see. Voldemort is gone too, or so the prophet insists. Regulus does not believe in gone when it comes to a man who tore his soul apart on purpose. So he writes, leather-bound journals, charmed to look like dull housekeeping ledgers, columns of names and dates, notes on who sat where at which Death Eater gathering, which pure-blood patriarchs smiled too readily when the Dark Lord spoke of cleansing. He maps the hierarchy as he remembers it. Inner circle, outer circle, the terrified hangers-on. He sketches symbols instead of names, builds a code only a black raised in this house could untangle. He catalogues methods, Inferi in the cave, curses that tasted of rot and cold, rumors of experiments with memory, with blood, with artifacts too old for the ministry to admit, still exist. Each entry is careful, almost clinical, but the ink sometimes bites into the page where his hand tightens. On a side desk, a different pile grows. Letters to Dumbledore he will never send. Headmaster. One begins, you do not know everything about Tom Riddle. Another, one of his protections has already been destroyed. He looks at the words until they blur, imagines the trial, the Dementors, the quiet satisfaction in certain Wizengamot eyes at seeing a black in chains. He folds each letter, seals it, and locks it in a warded box. A private archive of his own cowardice or his own caution. He cannot decide which. Instead, he hunts patterns. The diary Lucius once bragged about acquiring, something from Riddle's school days, treasured far beyond its apparent worth. The gaunt shack, spoken of in whispers, an ancestral ring glinting on a madman's finger, Bellatrix's reverent tone when she mentioned a certain cup in her vault, a relic of Hufflepuff, guarded by Gringotts and her own fanaticism. Regulus cannot prove any of it, but he draws lines between them on enchanted parchment, charm after charm, layering the map until it looks like nothing more than a child's game board. Creature watches him work. Sometimes the elf brings tea and mutters about Master Regulus, always thinking, always walking. Sometimes he just stands in the doorway, eyes wet, as if this quiet labor is more than any description could contain. Years pass like this. No one comes, no one asks. The magical world celebrates its boy who lived and forgets the black heir who nearly died in a cave. Grimmauld becomes a vault of a different sort, not of gold like the bank, but of context, of warnings, of roots half-traced toward other Horcruxes. The irony is simple and sharp. Everything he is doing only matters if someone inherits both the house and the burden of understanding. If, one day, a boy and a girl stand in this hallway, look at the tapestry, find his ledgers, and know how to read what he left behind. He has been planning this without knowing their names. The Second War will need field generals and chosen ones. It will also need an archivist in the walls, already whispering from the past, if anyone cares to listen. Dumbledore's blind spot, the Horcrux he never has to chase. The office is quiet and full of ticking. Glass, silver, slow-moving stars on black velvet. Years before Harry ever walks up the spiral staircase, Albus Dumbledore sits alone and rereads a letter from Lucius Malfoy's trial. A diary, a basilisk, a girl possessed. He has been planning this, in his own careful way, since the moment he held that ruined diary in his hands and felt the echo of something he had almost allowed himself to forget. Tom Riddle's fascination with cheating death. The diary is the first confirmation. Not just a cursed object, but a vessel that could think, remember, act. Later, the ring in the gaunt shack will be the second, its stone whispering to every grief he has never laid down. Each artifact slots into a pattern, Riddle's obsession with trophies, his lineage, his fear of mortality. Dumbledore walks the grounds, walks the memories he has collected in crystal vials, and slowly assembles the puzzle that this is not one soul split in panic, but many fragments, placed with intention. In this world, something does not fit. His research into Tom's life is the same. Orphanage. Hepzibah Smith. The cup. The locket. The visit to Borgin and Burke's. He looks at the Pensieve's swirling surface and knows there should be an anchor bound to Slytherin's locket, tied to the Black family through Merope's stolen heirloom. Every line of reasoning points to it. Every instinct agrees. And yet, every attempt to trace it ends in fog. Gringotts records show an old locket once in a black vault, then withdrawn. No return. No sale. No seizure. The bank is silent on what happened after. Grimmauld Place yields dust, curses, a screaming portrait, but no Horcrux. His spells to sense such magic brush against empty air, where there should be a wound in the world. He has been planning this search for years, refining detection charms, testing theories on lesser cursed items, walking through Nocturne Alley with his hood up, but the locket refuses to be found. It is like chasing a ghost that has already moved on. That absence becomes a splinter in his mind. Was it destroyed? Stolen? Did Voldemort move it after the diary was lost? The uncertainty accelerates him. He cannot afford to guess how many pieces of soul remain. So he goes to Horace Slughorn earlier. Not a gentle nudge in Harry's 6th year, but a quiet, relentless pressure in the 4th, the 3rd. A visit with lemon drops and old war stories, followed by another with sharper questions. How many, Horace? Not just whether Tom asked about Horcruxes, but how far he intended to go. The old memory is dragged into the light sooner, cleaned, and Dumbledore finally hears the number that has haunted his calculations. 7. It sharpens his mentorship of Harry. In one version of this war, he withholds the full theory until he is certain. In this altered line, the missing locket forces a choice. Either he is more open, earlier, telling Harry and, by extension, Hermione that Voldemort has broken his soul into many parts, or he becomes even more cautious, refusing to send a boy into danger while one expected anchor is simply gone. He looks at her. She looks at him. In another office, another conversation, Harry and Hermione would press, would ask why his eyes keep flicking to the Black family tapestry in his notes. He never connects the gap to a young man in that tapestry who vanished beneath the words Regulus Arcturus Black. Never imagines that a supposed Death Eater has already done part of the work he is quietly preparing Harry to die for. And when he finally stands on a cliff above a dark sea, hand withered by a ring he chose to wear, Dumbledore still believes one Horcrux is missing, not knowing that the board has been uneven for years, and that someone else has been planning this war from the shadows. The next move will not be his. Snape between two traitors, the double agent chain. The alley is narrow and smells of damp stone and old ash. A single lantern swings, though there is no wind. Autumn 1984. Severus Snape walks alone through Nocturne, cloak tight against the cold, mind tighter around secrets he has been carrying since Halloween 3 years ago. He is entrenched now, potions master, Dumbledore's bitter guarantee inside Slytherin. Quiet presence at staff table, and quieter shadow on the edges of old Death Eater gatherings. He has been planning this double life for so long that the masks almost feel like skin. The message reaches him like any other inconvenience, folded into an invoice from a potion ingredient supplier, tucked between lists of boomslang skin and powdered moonstone. One extra strip of parchment, wrong texture, wrong smell. No signature. Just a line in a precise, aristocratic hand he half remembers from Black family drawing rooms. The Dark Lord's anchors are not as secure as he believes. R.A.B. He freezes in his office, the dungeon walls pressing close. Anchors. The word scrapes against a memory of Dumbledore's quiet speculations, of soul magic spoken of only as theory. Regulus Black is dead. Should be dead. Yet the letters curve with the cool certainty of someone who has seen too much and survived it. He spends 3 nights testing the parchment. Detection spells. Dark arts counters. He looks for curses, for tracking webs, for the faintest trace of the Dark Lord's magic, and finds nothing. Which is, of course, its own danger. A perfect trap is one that looks like a gap in the pattern. Still, curiosity gnaws at him. Another Death Eater who turned. Another man who looked at Voldemort and saw something worth betraying. It is a painful echo of his own late-night confession in Dumbledore's office, Lily's name like a blade in his mouth. He has been planning this survival, this penance, but he never imagined sharing it. The reply goes through a different channel, a coded note in the margin of a dark arts journal circulated only among certain old families, a comment on ritual theory that is, to anyone else, meaningless. To the right reader, it is a place and a time. They meet in a warded room in the deepest part of Grimmauld Place, a house that looks at Snape with the same suspicion he feels. Regulus is thinner, older in the eyes, but alive. No dramatic greetings, no embrace. Just two former Death Eaters standing in the dust between a black tapestry and a shuttered window. They sit. They talk around the thing first. Family. The war. Sirius. A faint, dry flash of humour when Regulus mentions that the bank would be very interested in what Dumbledore does not know about certain heirlooms. Then, finally, the word. Horcrux. Soul anchors. A locket already destroyed in a cave of Inferi. Regulus does not share everything. He keeps Creature, the exact rituals, the full list of hiding places back behind his eyes. Snape does the same with Lily, with prophecies, with Dumbledore's plans, but between them they sketch enough. Multiple anchors, ancient soul magic, a pattern of objects that matter more than followers. So a chain forms. Regulus feeds Snape fragments, confirmation that at least one anchor is gone, hints about others, observations about how Voldemort moves when he thinks himself wounded. Snape filters it, translates it into cautious theory, offers it to Dumbledore in late-night conversations by the fire. Dumbledore adjusts his plans, shifts from vague suspicion to focused hunt, never knowing that somewhere in a dark old house, a black air listens for the echo of every decision. Pattern interrupt. This means when Harry finally walks into Hogwarts, the war he is stepping into has already been bent by hands he has never met. And the next link in that chain is waiting in the shadows of the staff table, watching, calculating how much truth a boy can bear. Harry's early years, a boy marked in a slightly softer world. The great hall is bright and echoing, candles floating, plates gleaming, and somewhere behind the staff table, a thin man in black watches the boy who lived walk under the enchanted ceiling. September 1991. A castle in Scotland that has forgotten how to be at war, but not how to remember one. This is the wizarding world Harry doesn't know yet. A world that still flinches at loud bangs, that still counts empty chairs at Christmas, that still lowers its voice when it says the name Voldemort. But it is also a world where the first fall of that name felt more complete, where healers and aurors whisper that the Dark Lord did not just vanish, he bled something away. One Horcrux gone means his absence tastes different in the air. Less like a pause, more like a wound. The difference is subtle. It sits in the way Dumbledore walks the corridors, in how often he stops to look out over the lake. He is still tired, still carrying more than any description could contain, but he is not quite as hollow-eyed. He knows that somewhere, somehow, one piece of Tom Riddle's soul has been destroyed. He has been planning this quiet investigation for years, tracing rumours of cursed lockets, cross-checking Black family wills, noting every gap in the records. McGonagall feels it too. Her gaze is sharp, but there is a thread of stubborn hope in it when she watches the first years stumble to their tables. She remembers bodies on stretchers and dark marks over houses, yet she also remembers the day the war ended and the way Voldemort's magic broke, ragged and incomplete. Dark times may come again, she knows that. But the last war left scars on him as well as on them. For Harry, the early years unfold almost as the stories we know. A letter that will not be denied. A giant on a rock. A vault in Gringotts full of gold he never knew existed. Friends on a train. The stone hidden in the school. The diary in a bathroom. The basilisk in the pipes. He flies. He laughs. He nearly dies. From his side of the chessboard, everything looks the same. The difference shows in Dumbledore's eyes when Harry describes the diary that wrote back. That cold, deliberate script. The way Ginny faded. In this world, the old man is already half convinced of Horcruxes. The diary is not just a cursed object, it is confirmation. It fits too neatly into a pattern he has been sketching in the margins of every report. His questions are sharper. How did it think? How did it remember? After that year, his search is narrow. He begins, very quietly, to probe Black family properties and records, to send trusted agents to look at old houses that do not welcome visitors. The Locket's trail, or the strange lack of one, keeps pointing his thoughts toward Grimmauld Place. He has been planning this, and now the pieces start to move. Regulus moves as well, though Harry does not know his name. So does Snape, balancing oaths and watching for signs that Voldemort's second rise will not be as inevitable as the first. They look at each other, across the staff table sometimes. A moment of understanding passes between them, and neither speaks of the locket. On the pitch, a boy leans into his broom, wind in his face, chasing a golden blur. Above him, below him, around him, the world adjusts its lines of battle in quiet, deliberate ways. He just flies. The order returns, a seat at the table that should be empty. The house is listening, not with portraits yet, not with a screaming mother on the wall, but with stone and dust and the faint, metallic taste of old wards waking up. Summer 1995. Dumbledore stands on the pavement of Grimmauld Place with Moody and a cluster of cloaked figures. Wand low, voice quiet as he threads new magic into older, darker protections. He has been planning this since Voldemort's return at the graveyard, since the first reports from the bank and the ministry began to whisper the same word: war. Number 12 shudders into view. Sirius walks toward it like a man walking back into a nightmare he thought he'd escaped. His shoulders are set, his jaw tight. He looks up at the windows he remembers being shut against light and laughter. Somewhere behind one of those panes, his brother is already awake. Regulus has been planning this too, in a different register. Years of silence, years of mapping every stair that creaks, every cupboard that hides a crawl space, every blind corner where a man can stand and not be seen. When the first new wards brush against the old black protections, he feels the change like a draft under a door. Dumbledore chooses Grimmauld as headquarters because it is unregistered, ancient, steeped in pure blood magic strong enough to anchor a Fidelius. He does not know that its presumed dead heir is sitting in a narrow attic room, wand in hand, listening to the front door open. Logistics come first. Regulus and Creature sit at the rickety table that has been theirs alone for a decade. One candle, one chipped teapot, a list of choices that all feel like traps. Reveal himself to an order that remembers him as a Death Eater. Flee and abandon the one place warded well enough to hide his records about the Locket. Or sink deeper into the bones of the house while strangers walk its halls. Creature's ears tremble as he whispers names. Dumbledore, Moody, Lupin. Names that would gladly see Master Regulus march to Azkaban. Names that fought the mark he once wore. The elf's loyalty pulls in three directions at once. To Regulus, to the ancient Black Line, to the bitter memory of Wahlburger's orders. A moment of understanding passes between them, as they realize there is no safe choice, only less dangerous ones. Regulus chooses to become a ghost in his own home. He and Creature widen old servant passages with quiet, precise spells. Lay a notice-me-not charms over narrow stairwells. Carve one-way observation points behind tapestry and paneling. From a slit behind the drawing room wall, he looks down on the first full order meeting. Sirius slams a door, curses the black name, rips down a family tapestry thread by thread. Every time his own face is called traitor, every time someone says Regulus died a coward, the man behind the wall does not move. Creature watches too. He hears Sirius sneer at the house, at the ancestors, at everything Creature once polished and worshipped. Love for Master Regulus coils tight with resentment for Master Sirius, and the secret he carries makes every muttered insult feel heavier. As raids begin, as reports of Death Eaters and disappearances pile on the kitchen table, the word Horcrux has not yet been spoken aloud here. But Regulus hears enough. Voldemort's return, the prophecy, the renewed hunt for power. He knows, with the same cold certainty he felt in the cave, that the Locket was only one piece, that at some point, the Order will have to know everything. He looks through the crack above the kitchen hearth one night and sees Sirius laughing with Lupin over a map of safe houses, sees Molly Weasley ladling stew, sees Dumbledore's profile bent over parchment. More than any description could contain lives in that room. History, guilt, strategy, fragile hope. He has been planning this for years, but he has not yet planned the moment he will have to step out of the wall and sit at that table. The war will make that decision for him. It begins with a single word, spoken downstairs, that freezes him in place. Pattern break. What if Harry meets Regulus before he knows his name? A whisper in the dark. Not the old house creaking, not the portrait muttering downstairs. Something softer, careful, almost afraid. Summer 1996. Number 12. Grimald Place. The house is supposed to be sleeping. Harry walks anyway. He cannot sleep. The war has moved into the hallways, into the letters on the kitchen table, into the way Molly Weasley looks at him and then looks away. His invisibility cloak settles around his shoulders like a familiar decision, wand in hand, bare feet on cold floorboards. He has been planning this kind of walk since the first night here, counting doors, cracks, keyholes, wanting to know everything the house is hiding. Halfway up to the attic, he hears it, a man's voice, low and steady, bleeding through stone where there should be only silence. The boy Creature. You will watch him. You will listen. Dumbledore moves his pieces. I must see the board. Harry stops. The voice is coming from a room Sirius swore was sealed, the one with the permanently stuck door and the faint smell of dust and old magic. The one even Molly avoids. He edges closer, presses his shoulder to the wall. There, between two warped panels, is a hairline crack, just wide enough for candlelight to escape. He bends, looks. A thin, dark-haired man sits at a small table by a single candle. Black hair, not as wild as Sirius's, falls neatly to his collar. His profile is sharper, younger, the jaw set in a way that looks like decision turned into bone. He wears plain black robes, no crest, no mask, yet he holds himself like someone used to both. He looks like Sirius stripped of jokes and given nothing but purpose. Across from him, Creature kneels, wringing his hands. The elf's voice trembles. Master Reg, he stops, glances toward the wall as if he too feels watched. The man's hand stills. The Dark Lord's soul is not as hidden as he believes, he says quietly. The locket is gone. The cup will fall. But the boy may be the knife, without knowing he is a blade. Harry's fingers tighten on his wand. Dark Lord. Soul. Locket. The words scrape against everything Dumbledore has not yet explained. A portrait? A memory charm embedded in the stones? Some black ancestor stuck between years and grudges? In this house, any of those could be true. He leans closer, breath held. The candle throws the man's face into clearer view as he turns slightly toward the crack. Grey eyes, cool and assessing, sweep the room. For a heartbeat, Harry is sure those eyes pass directly over him. He jerks back, heart pounding, the cloak whispering against the wall. Nothing moves on the landing. No alarm, no shouted spell. Just the murmur of the man's voice resuming, too soft now to catch. Harry retreats 3 steps, then 10, forcing himself not to run. The world has enough ghosts. He does not need to borrow the Black families as well. He files it away like another cursed locket in a long list of unsolved things. A strange echo in a strange house. Tomorrow there will be training, and Dumbledore, and no time for cracks in walls. Inside the sealed room, Regulus Black watches the door long after the footsteps fade. He has been planning this for years. The cave, the destruction, the long, patient hiding. The almost audible shift of air outside the wall does not fit any of his plans. Creature, he says softly. We are not alone in this house. Creature hesitates. Is it the boy, Master? Regulus does not answer at once. He looks at the candle, then at the wall. A moment of understanding passes between them. Man and elf, that this is not yet the night to pull the knife from its sheath. Not yet, he decides. We wait. We watch. Dumbledore will show his hand soon enough. He lets the silence grow again, heavy and deliberate. On the other side of the wall, Harry lies awake, staring at the ceiling, telling himself it was only the house. Both of them are wrong, and the war is already adjusting around that crack in the plaster. The diary and the locket that never was, rewriting the trio's Horcrux education. The diary burns first. Ink hisses, skin-black leather buckles, and the basilisk venom eats through paper and soul alike. In the echoing ruin of the chamber, Harry watches Tom Riddle's face tear apart in white light. Hears the scream that is not quite human and not quite wind. Later, in the hospital wing, Dumbledore sits beside his bed and looks older than the stone walls. He turns the ruined diary over in his hands, fingers resting on the ragged hole, forks his tears. could not mend. He has been planning this conversation since the moment Harry drove the Fang down, but even he did not expect proof to arrive as a burnt school exercise book. A piece of his soul, preserved, Dumbledore says quietly, anchored to an object. This should not be possible. Harry files away the words. Hermione, pale but awake in the next bed, listens with her eyes closed, counting each phrase, already building a structure in her mind. Horcrux is not said yet, but the shape of the idea is there, heavy and wrong. In the original line of the world, the locket would have come next. Years later, a second pattern point. Diary. Locket. A chain of cursed heirlooms leading Dumbledore to a map of Voldemort's soul. But in this world, the locket is ash in a cave far from any castle, destroyed by a black heir who never sends a letter to say what he has done. So there is a gap where certainty should be. One data point. One impossible diary. No second artifact to confirm the theory. For a man who deals in patterns, that absence is almost as loud as another scream in the chamber. By the time Harry staggers out of the graveyard in fourth year, clutching Cedric's body and the echo of Voldemort's rebirth, Dumbledore has stopped pretending he can solve this alone. He looks at Harry. He looks at Hermione. A moment of understanding passes between them. They are no longer children to be shielded. They are witnesses, and the war will not wait. That night, in his office, he names the thing, Horcrux. He sketches, in careful, terrible language, what it means to tear a soul. He admits he does not yet know how many anchors there are, or where they might be hidden. Hermione does not sleep. She has been planning this kind of research her whole life without knowing the name. Now she has the term to pin to it. By morning she has 3 lists: known facts about the diary, speculative notes on soul magic from Peverell grimoires, and a catalogue of likely vessels tied to Voldemort's history. She begins a private archive, parchment layered with runes and cross-references, an echo of Regulus's hidden journals sleeping in Grimmauld walls. Harry walks the corridors, replaying the diary's destruction, the way the ink bled like blood. He thinks about the prophecy, about a man who would make himself immortal, and feels the edges of a plan forming, still too vague to touch. They enter 6th year with knowledge most adults in the castle do not have. They know the word Horcrux. They know the theory, murder, division, vessel. They know Dumbledore is hunting, somewhere beyond the edges of their timetable. But they have never worn the weight of a cursed locket around their necks, never felt it whisper in their ears, or twist their tempers until friendship cracks. For now, their education is diagrams and stories, not poisoned metal on bare skin. The emotional cost has been deferred, not erased, and the empty space where a locket should have been is waiting to be filled by something else. Snape's tightrope, protecting Harry while guarding Regulus's secret. The kitchen is too bright. Candles burn low in crooked sconces. Silverware glints on the scarred table, and Severus Snape sits where he once stood as an intruder, now pretending to be an ally. Above him, behind the walls and ancient wards of Grimmauld Place, another black heir listens to every word and says nothing. Order members talk over one another, shifting chairs, rustling maps, the scrape of Moody's wooden leg. Snape keeps his eyes on the parchment in front of him, a list of patrol routes, but his real attention is on the ceiling, on the faintest vibration through old stone that tells him Regulus is there, close enough to hear, too far to save if anything goes wrong. He has been planning this balance for years, ever since a half-dead house elf appeared in a side alley off Spinner's End with a locket that hummed like a broken wardstone. Since then, every meeting is a performance. He measures each word, each pause, knowing that one careless phrase could expose a hidden witness Dumbledore would desperately want, and the Ministry would happily imprison. Revealing Regulus is a perfect equation that will not resolve. Dumbledore could gain a Horcrux witness who actually destroyed one, someone who knows the cave, the potion, the feel of soul magic tearing. The war effort could gain another spy, another strategist who understands the old pure blood families from the inside. But the moment Regulus steps into the light, he becomes a former Death Eater with a branded arm and a name the auras still curse. Azkaban, Veritaserum, headlines. The fragile trust Snape has bought with blood and lies would crack, and the Dark Lord would smell the fracture. So the alliance stays in the walls and in the dust. A chipped black family chessboard in a side parlor where no one but him ever goes. Black onyx pawns slightly misaligned. A white bishop tilted just so. Positions that spell out letters if you know which games they studied as boys. A hidden compartment in a cabinet behind the screaming portrait where folded scraps of parchment appear and vanish between meetings. They do not risk inked signatures. Only initials, numbers, and questions about magical theory that look like abstract puzzles to anyone else. Regulus asks about the limits of soul division. Snape answers with references to obscure ritual failures in old journals he happens to leave out. They sketch Death Eater movements in code, transforming raids into chess problems, casualties into lost pieces. In another world, this would be academic correspondence between distant scholars. In this world, each letter is a step along a tightrope above a pit. The irony is acid in his throat. He despises Sirius Black with a precision that has been honed since school. Yet here he is, secretly allied with the brother Sirius never understood. Together, they work to protect the child of the woman he loved from the Dark Lord they both once served. More than any description could contain sits in that contradiction. If Sirius knew, would he laugh or break something? Time narrows. Draco's mission darkens the corridors of Hogwarts. Dumbledore's hand blackens further each week. Snape walks those halls knowing that the end of the headmaster's plan is approaching, and with it, the end of his only sanctioned line of communication. Once Dumbledore falls, the Order will harden. Access will shrink. Messages will be intercepted. In the next meeting at Grimmauld, Tonks jokes about the old place, Remus studies the tapestry, and Snape watches the door, calculating. He looks at her. She looks at him, not Lily, never Lily, but Minerva, eyes sharp, already suspicious. A moment of understanding passes between them, and he realizes he is almost out of time. Does he drag Regulus into the open now, gamble everything on one more confession before the Tower Night, or let his last direct link to Dumbledore's true design vanish with the man himself? Upstairs, a floorboard creaks. The ceiling dust shifts. And Snape knows that whichever choice he makes next will decide who actually lives long enough to see the Dark Lord fall. Dumbledore's last year, a headmaster who knows less and more. The tower is cold, even in June. Stone, wind, the slow tick of a clock that is not on any wall. Dumbledore sits behind his desk, the blackened hand resting on a folded letter from St. Mungo's that he has never opened. He does not need to. He knows what the healers would say. The curse is contained, not cured, and every day it gnaws further up bone and blood and magic. He has been planning this final year with that quiet, relentless awareness that his time is no longer measured in terms or exams, but in how many of Voldemort's soul anchors he can find before his own body fails. He looks at the ring on his finger, the stone that is not just a stone, and remembers the moment he put it on, the rush of temptation, the blast of pain. One Horcrux destroyed, at a cost. The others, Diary, Cup, Snake, something of Ravenclaw's or Gryffindor's, the boy in the tower, form a shifting constellation in his mind. But there is a gap now, a space where something should be, and is not. Because, some weeks after that night in his office when Snape bound the curse, when they argued in low, vicious whispers about plans and promises, Severus had come back, pale, tight-mouthed, more guarded than usual. He offered information without context, as if each word were being weighed against an old oath. A Death Eater once destroyed a powerful dark artifact of the Dark Lord's, Snape had said. He did not live long afterward. The Dark Lord never discovered who it was. No name, no description, no locket, just that. A shard of story. A pattern interrupt in Dumbledore's careful accounting. Dumbledore turns it over in his thoughts the way Harry turns over a snitch. If Voldemort made multiple Horcruxes, as he now believes, then it is not only possible, but likely that one might have been lost. That some unknown hand, somewhere in that first war, struck at the Dark Lord's immortality before anyone else even suspected it existed. It encourages him. It terrifies him. It means the number remaining is less clear than he hoped. It means he knows less and more than he thought. So when he and Harry walk down to the lake and vanish from Hogwarts, hand clamped around Harry's arm, he has been planning this for months, but with a new uncertainty humming under his ribs. The cave, still matters. The protections still reek of Voldemort's magic. Yet he cannot shake the idea that he may be arriving years too late. The journey is the same. The blood on the rock, the boat, the chill of the inferi-infested water. But when they reach the basin, the liquid glows over something else. Not Slytherin's locket, but a heavy, nameless relic that thrums with curses and memories. A decoy seeded with agony, but empty of soul. He drinks anyway. He has to know. When Harry forces the last mouthful down and the basin stands bare, there is only a small scrap of metal at the bottom, warped and melted, engraved with an almost erased serpentine S, not a Horcrux. The scar of one. Dumbledore looks at it, and the world tilts. Someone was here, years ago. Someone fought this potion, faced these inferi, and took the true prize. Someone destroyed it. On the rock, between one breath and the next, he understands that he and Harry are not the first to walk this path. Back in his office, hours later, he studies the twisted scrap beside the ring. 2 anchors broken, one by his own hubris, one by a hand he cannot name. He looks at the cursed hand, at Harry across the desk. He looks at her. She looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them that is more than any description could contain. There is an ally out there. A ghost from Voldemort's inner circle who dared to attack his immortality first. And if that ghost chose to stay hidden, what else might he have left behind? The astronomy tower, a death, a vow, and a missing piece. The tower is open and full of wind, stone beneath Dumbledore's back, the night pressing close. The greenish rim of the dark mark above them like a wound in the sky. He looks at the wand in Draco's shaking hand and knows, with the same cold clarity he used in that cave, that this boy was never meant to finish it. He has been planning this. Not the precise angle of the lightning-struck battlements, not the way his fingers can no longer quite close around his own wand, but the arc of it. Draco disarmed, Death Eaters watching from the shadows, Severus walking toward them to keep a promise that was always going to taste like poison. Below, hidden beneath the tower's lip, another shadow presses against the stone. Regulus Black listens, breath shallow, wand drawn but useless. He had followed the mark, followed the whispers of movement through the castle, thinking he might finally see the headmaster who had guessed the truth about the locket. He did not expect to find him like this. Draco's voice cracks. He talks of orders, of a task that has eaten his sleep. Dumbledore's eyes never leave his face. He speaks softly of choices, of the difference between fear and cruelty, of a world where Draco might still walk away. It is, Harry will one day realize, the same tone he used when he spoke of another young Slytherin who turned back from the edge. Because now, in this version of the tower, Dumbledore does not only carry the weight of theory, he carries the memory of a destroyed Horcrux, the cold locket on his desk, and the note from a boy who signed himself simply R.A.B. He knows that somewhere in this castle, or beyond it, a black heir survived the cave that nearly killed him, and proved the magic can be undone. So when Severus appears in the doorway, black robes billowing, eyes already calculating, there is a different kind of peace in Dumbledore's gaze. Harry will not be alone. Someone else has walked into the dark first and come back with proof. He has been planning this too. The will, the pensieve, the small adjustments that a man makes when he knows his time is measured not in years, but in conversations left to have. A letter for Harry that mentions, almost idly, that the Black House at Grimmauld still holds secrets. A silvery memory, bottled and labelled only. A traitor who turned twice. A phrase about a young man who betrayed his master, then betrayed the very ideology that raised him. Harry will puzzle over those words. Hermione will frown, then reach for a map of old pure blood properties and a list of known Death Eaters. They look at each other. A moment of understanding passes between them. The trail leads back to the same ancient townhouse, the same family Sirius tried so hard to escape. On the tower, Severus raises his wand. His mind is a storm of conflicting vows. To Narcissa, to Lily's memory, to the old man now silently pleading with him. When he casts the killing curse, he is not only ending a life, he is cutting the one thread that might have bound Regulus Black openly to a leader who would have understood everything he saw in that cave. Below, Regulus flinches as the green light bursts. The body falls, The tower cracks with lightning, stones scorched and broken, a jagged silhouette against the sky that will be seen from every corner of the grounds. The lightning-struck tower becomes a symbol, a beacon, not only of loss, but of a line crossed. The old guardians are gone. The war will belong to heirs and ghosts now. And somewhere in the shadows, a man who once walked away from Voldemort's ranks has to decide whether he will keep hiding, or finally step into a world that might, at last, be ready to hear what he did. No Locket at the wedding. A very different Horcrux hunt begins. The house on Privet Drive is dark and waiting. Curtains drawn, wards humming faintly over cheap brick and clipped hedges, holding back a war that no longer cares about front gardens. July 1997. The last night. Harry stands in the smallest bedroom with a bag containing everything he owns that matters now. Holly wand, invisibility cloak, marauder's map, a battered photo album, a folded piece of parchment with Dumbledore's spidery notes on Horcruxes, and a second sheet, newer, in McGonagall's tidy hand, summarizing what the Order has pieced together from old black records. Not just a diary and a ring, but whispers of a cup, a snake, something of Ravenclaw's, something that might have been hidden in the very bones of Hogwarts. He has been planning this escape for weeks, pacing the narrow room, tracing routes in his head. Not back to school. Not this year. The decision not to return to Hogwarts feels less like rebellion and more like a grim, legal obligation. The kind a lord owes his people when the law itself has been twisted. Downstairs, the Dursleys' hurried departure leaves behind the smell of burnt toast and fear. Soon after, the air outside tears open in light and brooms and motorbike roar. The flight from Privet Drive unfolds in wind and spells, and Hedwig's last cry, the same jagged pattern as before. Because some events in this world are too anchored to move. The burrow, when he wakes there, is a different kind of anchor. The wedding preparations rise around them like a fragile spell. Mrs. Weasley charming Bunting, Fleur's mother inspecting Silver, Bill walking the boundary with his wand out. The threat is the same, but the conversations under the fairy lights have shifted. When Harry and Hermione slip away to talk, it isn't a single stolen locket they whisper about. They look at each other. A moment of understanding passes between them. We know at least 4 more, Hermione says quietly. Cup, diadem, or wand, Nagini, and something else of Gryffindor's or Ravenclaw's. Dumbledore's notes match what we found in the Black Library, and what Regulus hinted at. Harry looks at her. She looks at him. Somewhere under their feet, guests laugh. The music feels very far away. The Ministry still looms over their plans, but not as a vault for a known Horcrux. It is a machine grinding down Muggleborns with new decrees, a place where records are kept, where Umbridge pins blood status charts to walls. Breaking in now is not about stealing an object. It is about stealing people out of courtrooms and stealing information out of files that might tell them where Voldemort has moved his soul. Hermione's beaded bag waits on her chair upstairs. Inside, tent, potions, spare clothes, the usual canon essentials, but also thick, carefully tabbed notebooks, diagrams of soul magic, cross-references between Dumbledore's theories and the dry, angry script of Regulus Black, copied from Grimmaild's study. She has been planning this too, walking a line between academic fascination and the cold knowledge that every successful Horcrux is a murder frozen in place. After the wedding shatters under the Patronus message and the first screams, they apparate to the only place that still feels like a fortress with their name on it. Number 12. Grimmauld Place unfolds from the row of houses, old and sullen. The door accepts Harry's hand. The air inside tastes of dust and old spells. Yet something is wrong. The kitchen table is cleared, as if for meetings. A map of Britain, not there before, lies folded under a weight charm. The curtains in the drawing room are half drawn, as though someone has been standing there, watching the street. The house elf magic feels busy. Creature? Harry calls. The answering footsteps are slow, wary, not just his. Harry feels it then. This is not an abandoned relic. It is a base already in use, layered with secrets about Voldemort and the Blacks that Dumbledore never fully shared, more than any description could contain. Ron wants to move, to act, to hunt the next Horcrux immediately. Harry does not. We stay, he says. We learn what this house knows first. Hermione's fingers tighten on her notes. Somewhere behind the walls, boards creak as if someone else is listening. And in a forgotten bedroom, a different black air may already have left instructions for the one who finally came home. Discovery in the walls, Harry and Hermione find Regulus's archive. The house is listening. Floorboards creak again as if answering Harry's words. Dust motes drift in the stale air of the corridor, catching on the faint glow of Hermione's wand. Point me, concealed magic, she murmurs. The tip spins, tugs left. They walk slowly, following it past the tapestry, past the room where Sirius's mother still whispers, to a narrower stretch of wall Harry has been avoiding without knowing why. He has been planning this search since they claimed the house, drawing maps in his head, marking every door, every locked cupboard, every place Grimmauld seems to hold its breath. Now, standing here, that quiet, irrational déjà vu sharpens. A memory of a thin man's profile half seen through stone. A flash of grey eyes that were not Sirius's and yet were. Here, he says. His hand is already on the wallpaper. Hermione is faster with her wand. Revelio, Aperio, Arcanum Ostende. Layers of magic answer, faint but intricate, like old ink bleeding through parchment. Runes shimmer, sink back. For a second, nothing happens. Then the wall unhooks itself from reality with a soft, decisive click. Behind it, a narrow door, almost mean in its plainness. No screaming metal, no cursed handle, just a knob worn smooth by one person's hand. Harry looks at her. She looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them. This is not Sirius's chaos. This is something older, quieter, more deliberate. He opens the door. The concealed study is small and perfectly ordered. One desk, one straight-back chair, one lamp charmed to a steady, cool glow that flickers as if surprised to see them. Shelves line the walls from floor to ceiling, every inch precise. Not junk, not hoarded heirlooms, journals. Stacks and stacks of journals, each bound in dark leather, each labelled in the same neat, angular hand. Regulus Arcturus Black. War record. Year 1. Regulus Arcturus Black. Horcrux theories. Regulus Arcturus Black. Cave operation. Harry moves closer. Dust lies thick on the spines, but the alignment is exact, as if Regulus stepped out for a moment and never walked back in. He reaches for a volume at random. A sketch on the first page stops him. A face. Young, sharp, stubborn. Sirius's cheekbones, Sirius's mouth, but the eyes are cooler, calculating, taking in everything. More than any description could contain. His throat tightens. For a second, he feels like an intruder in someone else's grief. Behind him, Hermione breathes, oh, not fear. Awe. The pages around Harry bloom with diagrams, soul-splitting theory, notes on Gringotts rituals, cross-references to obscure magical lore and goblin treaties. She recognizes runic shorthand Professor Babbling only hinted at. She has been planning this kind of research for years. Here, someone has already done it under Voldemort's nose. Ron edges in, squinting at a labelled drawing of a heavy locket. That's it, isn't it? Slytherin's thing. The one we thought we'd never find. His voice holds something new. Respect. Reluctant, but real. Bloke was a Slytherin, and still went after you-know-who's secret. Mad. Or brave. Harry flips further. The cave account is meticulous. The boat, the potion, creature's terror, Regulus's counter-rituals, and the exact sequence of spells he used to destroy the locket, line by line, with corrections in the margin where he improved his own work. Other entries map suspicions. A diary in the bank vaults of a ruined family, a ring in a cursed shack, a cup locked behind Lestrange wards. Not certainties, but close. Too close. Hermione's fingers trace a heading on fighting a war no one knows exists. She looks at Harry. They look at each other. The weight of their task shifts, not lighter, but different. Harry, she says quietly, someone else has already walked this path. He destroyed a Horcrux alone. In secret. The house seems to lean in. Maybe, she finishes, voice steady, we're not as alone in this as we thought. The reveal, Regulus steps out of the shadows. The house is holding its breath. The drawing room is close and dim, lit only by the fire and the single lamp over the table where the journals lie open. August dust, old magic, the faint smell of smoke in the curtains. Harry's hands are fists on the wood. "We tell the Order," he says. "Dumbledore needs to see this. He has to know everything." "And then what?" Hermione's voice is low, quick. "He takes the journals. He decides what we're ready for. Harry, he's already kept Horcruxes from you once." She looks at him, eyes bright behind her glasses. "He has been planning this war for decades. Ron shifts, chair scraping. So we don't tell anyone? We just play secret war with Voldemort? That went brilliantly for Regulus, didn't it?" His hand hovers near his wand without quite touching it. "You're assuming," a quiet voice says from the doorway, "that Regulus drank the potion alone." The words cut cleanly through the room. They all turn. A man stands in the doorway, half-shadowed, older than the boy in the portrait upstairs, lines carved around his mouth and eyes, hair pulled back with black family precision gone slightly to seed. The same high cheekbones, the same grey eyes as Sirius, only without the manic edge, the wild laughter. His posture is controlled, shoulders square, weight balanced as if he expects to have to move, to fight. His wand is already in his hand, angled down but ready. Harry's magic surges, instinct flaring. Former Death Eater. Black. The name is a wound. His own wand is in his fingers before he thinks about it. "Who are you?" he demands, though part of him already knows. Hermione is standing, quill forgotten, gaze raking over the stranger like a diagnostic charm. "That's impossible," she whispers. "You're dead. Regulus Arcturus Black is dead." Ron half rises, chair tipping. Harry, his eyes flick between them, then to the man's wand. He looks ready to dive, to shield, to hex. Regulus's eyes move from one to the other, weighing, cataloguing. "If I was still a Death Eater," he says calmly, "you would not have heard me coming. A beat, and I would not correct your cave theory." Hermione seizes on it. "What did we get wrong? Rapid fire now. The potion? The Inferi? Creatures escape?" Regulus steps fully into the room. He walks with a faint stiffness, as if old curses left their mark, but there is precision in every movement. "The potion does not merely weaken," he says. "It forces you to relive your worst failures until you beg for the water that will damn you. Creature tried to take my place. I made him switch with me at the last moment." Harry's breath stutters. That line, that exact phrasing, it is in the last journal, in a margin note where the ink blurred. Regulus sees the recognition. Journal 3, page 217. "You underlined beg for the water. You," he adds, nodding to Hermione. She flushes. Anyone could have read. "You wrote a question in the margin," he interrupts, "about whether the potion was designed for traitors in particular. You spelled designed with an S, not a Z. Gringotts style. And you," he turns to Harry, "annotated the section on soul magic, with a note about Dumbledore's ring. Gaunt family shack, right hand, cracked resurrection stone. He believed it was a cursed relic. It was a Horcrux." Harry's fingers tighten. "How do you know about the ring?" "Because Voldemort bragged," Regulus says, and now there is iron in his voice. "About the diary, about the ring, about the locket. Early experiments. He wanted 7 pieces. He failed more than once." Hermione's eyes widen. Dumbledore's theories, half whispered in the headmaster's office, line up with the man in front of them like runes snapping into place. They look at each other. A moment of understanding passes between them. This is dangerous. This is necessary. Regulus exhales, as if setting down a weight he has carried alone for years. "I have notes," he says quietly. "Records. An archive you will not find in any bank or order safe. I will give you my expertise, my world, on one condition." Harry's jaw sets. "Name it." "You hear the full story," Regulus says. "The cave, the locket, my war. Then you decide whether to trust me." The house seems to lean in again. "So," Harry says, voice rough, "start talking." Story within the story, Regulus tells Harry how he destroyed the locket. The kitchen is dim and close, lit by a single low-burning lamp and the faint orange glow from the stove. The house is listening. So is Harry. Regulus folds his hands on the scarred table. His voice, when it comes, is almost conversational. It began with Creature, he says, as most of my better decisions did. Creature, hovering at his shoulder, makes a soft, affronted noise that is not quite a protest. Hermione looks up at that, eyes catching the movement, cataloguing it. Regulus goes on. He talks about a summer evening, about Voldemort's summons, about the casual way the Dark Lord had said he required a house elf for an experiment. I was proud then, he admits, proud that he trusted a black. Proud to be useful. He has been planning this confession, Harry realizes, for years. He describes Creature's first trip to the cave. The boat on the black water. The way the air tasted wrong, like stone and old fear. He made Creature drink, Regulus says. Every drop. My lord watched him scream and beg and claw at his own face. He watched like it was. Interesting. His mouth twists, and when it was done, he left Creature to die. Creature's fingers clutched the back of Regulus's chair. Master called Creature home, the elf rasps. Master cared. I tried to. Regulus answers quietly. I healed what I could, but I could not heal what he had done to my faith. He looks at Harry. He looks at Hermione. I had believed the rhetoric. Preservation of old families. Protection of our kind. It sounded reasonable if you did not look too closely at the bodies. He did look at Creature's burns, at the way the elf woke shrieking from dreams of green water and grasping hands, at the memory of Voldemort's bored eyes. Piece by piece, the story he had been told about pure blood duty rotted away. So I went back, Regulus says, not to die for an ideal, to end a tool. He explains how he questioned Creature, how they mapped the ritual, every cupful of potion, every command word layered into the rock. He speaks of the lake again, this time colder, more precise. The boat that only accepted a single magical presence. The way he cheated it by binding Creature to the shadows, half unseen. Harry finds himself leaning forward. He knows that cave. He has stood in front of that stone basin. More than any description could contain, the remembered weight of it settles in his chest. Regulus tells them about the potion. Not just the agony, but the way it clawed at his mind, replaying his parents' praise, the mark burning on his arm. Sirius, turning away. It wanted me to drown in what I had been, he says. I decided instead to live long enough to change it. Survival over martyrdom. A different kind of courage. He drinks in slow, deliberate sips in the telling, as if his throat still remembers. He speaks of the Inferi rising, of Creatures shaking hands pouring the lake over them, of the moment he clutched the real Locket and chose the one command that mattered. Take us home. Back at Grimmauld, the work was only beginning. The Locket fought. It whispered in Parseltongue that was not quite language, pressed against his thoughts, showed him futures, where he knelt again. He has been planning this destruction like a campaign, he explains. Runes etched into hidden stone, goblin metal from Gringotts smuggled in old family heirlooms, blood sigils that tied the Horcrux to the Black Line so he could drag it down with him if he failed. The ritual took hours. It took skin and sleep and something in his laughter that never came back. Years, he adds, of waking to the feeling of a hand on my ankle, pulling. He hid then, in Grimmaild's forgotten rooms, cataloguing Death Eater movements, sending anonymous letters, building the archive he has just offered them, while the nightmares paced beside him. Silence settles. The lamp hums. Hermione's hand tightens around her quill. Ron stares like he is seeing a different kind of Slytherin for the first time. Harry meets Regulus's eyes, and suddenly, the distance of years collapses. A boy, marked young, handed a role he did not choose. A boy who walked into Voldemort's magic and refused to die the way he was supposed to. They look at each other. A moment of understanding passes between them. How many of us, Harry thinks, has he been planning to use? And how different could this war become, now that one of Voldemort's first rebels is sitting at his kitchen table, offering not a tale of sacrifice, but of survival? A new pact, Trio and Regulus forge, a shared mission. Maps. Notes. Old parchment that smells faintly of damp stone and something darker. The kitchen table at Grimmauld Place disappears under it. Hermione works in a kind of quiet fury. Hogwarts letters. Dumbledore's penciled annotations on Tom Riddle's past. Regulus's cramped script from a leather-bound journal he has been planning this in for years. She spreads everything out, fingers moving fast, drawing lines between dates, places, names. Here, she says. The diary in the chamber, the ring in the gaunt shack, the locket in the cave. They form a pattern, Harry. Bloodlines, trophies, anchors to his past. She looks at Regulus, and your list of suspected objects fits into it. The cup, the snake, something of Ravenclaw's, maybe? Regulus watches her, eyes flicking from map to map. He looks older in this light, not in years, but in weight. I knew the diary existed, he says slowly. Rumors in the old circles. A book that could open something under the school. I never saw it, I only knew the locket. I thought, if he used one object that way, he would use more. Harry leans on the back of a chair, looking at the mess of their shared world laid flat in ink and parchment. We all want the same thing, he says. His voice sounds steadier than he feels. Voldemort gone. For good. You lost your brother to this. I lost my parents. Hermione nearly lost her parents and her future to his followers. Ron's family has been in his way since before we were born. He looks at her. She looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them. They have had this conversation in pieces, in corridors and tents and hospital wings. Now it crystallizes, here in this old black kitchen. We also know what it's like, Harry goes on, to carry something no one else sees. A prophecy, a fake locket with a real message, a destroyed Horcrux no one believes in. To walk around and pretend everything is normal when it isn't. Regulus's mouth twists. I know the old families, he admits. Their secrets, their grudges. I know how Voldemort recruited them, how he spoke to their fears. I know the early war. But this? He gestures toward the Daily Prophet on the counter, toward headlines about the modern ministry in Azkaban and werewolf legislation. This is not the world I fought in. I have never faced him in that snake-like body. I do not know these new laws, these new alliances. I do not know your ministry or your Dumbledore. Hermione nods once, decisive, and we don't know the pure blood networks the way you do, or the rituals he used before he became that. She draws another line, connecting Regulus's note about the cave to Dumbledore's memory of Tom asking about Horcruxes. So we stop pretending any of us can do this alone. Harry straightens. His decision settles in him like a key turning in a lock. He walks around the table, maps rustling, creatures soft breathing the only sound from the doorway. He holds out his hand. From now on, Harry says, looking directly at Regulus, no Horcrux gets hunted without all of us in the planning room. You, me, Hermione, Ron, we share everything. We decide together. Regulus hesitates only a heartbeat. Then, he takes Harry's hand. His grip is firm, colder than Harry expects, as if part of him is still in that cave. Agreed, he says. No more half-truths. No more secret missions. Hermione exhales, the sound almost a laugh, almost a sob. Good, she says, because the next steps are going to be worse than anything in that cave. In the doorway, Creature watches, his gnarled fingers twist in the tea towel, eyes shining. He sees his master's hand clasped in the boy who lived, the mudblood girl bending over black family maps as if they were hers by right. It is more than any description could contain. A tear slips down his cheek. For the first time, Regulus Black is not a whispered disgrace or a secret sacrifice. He is a general at a war table. Creature blinks, and a single, frightened thought surfaces. If they stand together now, what will Voldemort do when he notices? Rewriting the road trip, a Horcrux hunt without the Locket's poison. The forest is thin here. Sound carries. Every snapped twig feels like a spell being cast. Weeks into the hunt, the difference is already stark. In another world, there is a locket around Harry's neck, burning slow grooves into every thought, souring every look. Here, the locket is ash in a black family ritual bowl, destroyed years ago by a boy no one believed in. The silence in the tent is still heavy, but it is human, not cursed. They walk from safe house to safe house, not blindly camping wherever desperation lands them. Regulus has been planning this for years in the margins of other plans, and it shows in the map he unrolls each night. A cottage on the Welsh coast, left to a squib great-aunt. A shuttered hunting lodge in the Highlands, warded in old Black Latin. A townhouse in a mill town where a retired pure-blood clerk owes Wahlberger a favor and pretends not to see Harry's scar. At each stop there is something waiting. A trunk of preserved food. A crate of potions with neat, spidery labels. Once, a letter in a careful hand. If you are reading this, Regulus, then the world is worse than I feared. The signature is a minor black cousin Harry has never heard of. Regulus folds it away without comment. Hermione sees the tremor in his fingers. They are not just running, they are choosing. That is Hermione's territory. She sits opposite Regulus at the little tables of borrowed kitchens, parchment spread, quill tapping. Gringotts, she says, is both fortress and opportunity. The Lestrange vault is almost certainly trapped, but the bank has rules, patterns, a logic she can learn. Regulus counters with names. Lestrange, Knott, Travers, old families who might have smuggled artifacts out before the war truly turned. He looks at her. She looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them. They are, each in their own way, children of ancient houses trying to read a world built by their elders' sins. Harry watches them argue risk like it is an equation. His role, and Ron's, becomes execution. Apparate here, infiltrate there, pull back on this signal, unleash everything on that one. It is strangely calming to have plans that do not come from Dumbledore's half answers. Ron's arc bends differently without metal at his throat. The doubts are still there, years of being second, of hand-me-downs, do not vanish because a cursed Locket never whispered. But when he snaps, it is after a night where Regulus proposes using one of his old Death Eater contacts as bait, and Harry agrees too quickly. "You sound like him," Ron says, voice shaking. "Like Snape. Like you know everything, and the rest of us are just pieces." He leaves not in a storm of irrational fury, but with his pack properly packed, wand in hand, promising to find them again when he can live with the line they are about to cross. The absence he leaves is cleaner and sharper. When he does return, drawn by the silver doe and his own choice, there is no curse to break, only apologies to make. So do I. They look at each other. A moment of understanding passes between them that is quieter than in the other timeline, and stronger. The journey is still brutal, cold, hunger, the constant pressure of being hunted. Snatchers prowl the roads. Once, they only escape because a dusty black wardstone flares to life and drops an entire band unconscious. But without the Locket's psychic poison, the four of them cohere instead of fraying. Hermione and Regulus refine strategies. Harry and Ron turn them into practice drills. By the time Hogwarts rises on the horizon, this is not a trio stumbling in from the wilderness. It is a small, disciplined unit that has learned to move as one. And Voldemort, somewhere far away, still does not know which missing piece has been gone for decades. Gringotts with a black, breaking into a vault with insider knowledge. The vault is breathing fire. Heat, metal, the stink of old gold and older magic pressing on their lungs. Hours earlier, in the war room they have made of Hermione's beaded bag and a stolen Gringotts map, Regulus traces the Lestrange cart line with one ink-stained finger. He looks older in this light, less like Sirius's shadow, more like the black heir he was trained to be. He has been planning this since the locket shattered in his hands and refused to scream again. Lestrange is an ancient house, he says quietly. Old contracts, old protections. Gringotts will have layered their wards differently for Bella than for ordinary clients. He almost smiles on the last words, but it does not reach his eyes. They will have negotiated exceptions. Goblins remember every clause and every insult. Hermione looks up from her notes. "You mean the goblins will hold a grudge against her? Against all of us?" Regulus corrects. "We fought a war and never paid for their dead. My mother called them service creatures in a letter to the bank. I saw the copy. They keep such letters." He taps the parchment. "A vault holding a dark artifact will be worse. Think of the curses on black heirlooms, then add goblin imagination." Harry remembers the locket's whispering weight, the way it tried to open every crack in them. He nods once. So we assume the worst. They look at each other. A moment of understanding passes between them. The plan that emerges is uglier than Harry likes, more intricate than Ron trusts, but it fits the world they are in. Polyjuice from hair, Hermione lifted off Bellatrix's robes at Malfoy Manor. An imperious curse, practiced until Harry's voice does not shake, to turn a minor Lestrange cousin into their escort. And in Regulus's palm, wrapped in dragonhide, an old black family token, a signet disc that once opened emergency access to high security tunnels when blacks still sat on Gringotts advisory councils. It will not open her vault, Regulus warns, but some of the older goblin wards will hesitate. For a heartbeat. They were written when my grandfather's name meant something. One heartbeat might be everything, Hermione says. In the rattling cart, as the rails dive and twist, Regulus watches the tunnels with a veteran's quiet. He names turns under his breath. Old stories, old roots. He has been here before, as a boy in stiff dress robes, when the bank still pretended to like them. The dragon is worse than any story. It crouches over the lower caverns, blind eyes milky, chains biting into pale, scarred flesh. Regulus goes very still. This, he says, is what happens when no one ever tells Bella no. There is horror in his voice, and something else, a grim, cold satisfaction that Voldemort's world is eating itself. The token flares once in his hand as they pass a ward line. The air shivers. For one impossible second, the goblin enchantments misrecognize them as honored blacks on official business. Then the illusion tears, alarms begin to keen, and they are running. Inside the Lestrange vault, the treasure rises like a tide, every cup and jewel multiplying, burning, branding. Regulus stares at the obscene abundance, at the way one small bad girl he once knew has become a dragon of her own. More than any description could contain. There, Harry gasps, pointing to Hufflepuff's cup as it sprouts copies like a disease. Regulus already has the ritual bowl out. The same refined pattern they used on the locket etched in silver and obsidian. He looks at her. She looks at him. Hermione begins the counter-chant, voice steady even as hot gold sears her boots. Harry pins the true cup with the sword. Regulus slices his palm, lets black blood fall in measured drops. The Horcrux fights. The vault screams. Then the soul thread snaps, and the cup is only metal. They do not wait to celebrate. The dragon's back is a storm of muscle and air. Chains shatter under combined curses. Then they are clinging to rough scales, wind tearing at their faces as the creature bursts through the Gringotts dome and into the open. Regulus drags in a breath of unbounded sky. For the first time in years, there is no ceiling over him. No cave, no vault, only clouds and sun and the wild, terrified laughter of children who have broken the bank and lived. He closes his eyes against the wind, tasting freedom and smoke, and wonders how much of this world they can still remake before it breaks them back. Hogwarts under siege, a battle fought with an extra veteran. The castle is already roaring when they arrive. Hogwarts looms out of the dark like a besieged fortress from an older world. Every window lit, every tower shouting with spellfire and alarm bells. The bridge is guarded, the grounds crawling with snatchers and Death Eaters. The sky itself streaked with curses that look like falling stars. Harry feels the wards shudder as they cross them, as if the stones know what is coming. Inside, the room of requirement opens not into safety, but into a war council. The Dar is there, older, sharper, their faces set. Neville, bruised and steady. Luna, calm in the storm. Ginny, jaw clenched. Around them, order members and professors knot together, voices low but urgent. This is not children playing at resistance anymore. This is the last stand. Regulus steps through behind Harry and Hermione and the room tilts. For a heartbeat, no one moves. He looks like Sirius and not like Sirius. Familiar and wrong at the same time. An echo pulled out of a dead decade. Lupin's hand actually drops from his wand. Tonks stares, mouth open, hair flickering through colours she does not notice. Later, Regulus says quietly, and the word cuts the shock in half. We do this now, or there is no later. He has been planning this in his head since the cave, since the locket dissolved under his wand and Voldemort's scream tore through magic itself. He walks to McGonagall as if he never left these halls, bows his head once, not quite a student's gesture anymore. Headmistress. He will try the bridge, the boathouse, and the tunnel from Hogsmeade, giants first to break the walls, werewolves in the second wave. He likes to drive people into enclosed spaces and then burn them out. McGonagall's eyes are sharp behind her spectacles. You are certain? I watched him design it, Regulus answers. And I have watched him repeat himself. He is not as original as he thinks. They look at each other. A moment of understanding passes between them. She turns, starts snapping orders, shifting people to choke points Regulus names, the viaduct, the courtyard arch, the hidden postern gate only old pure blood families used. Kingsley listens, adds aura formations. Lupin quietly redirects the younger Den members away from the worst of the crossfire. The first breach comes at the courtyard wall. Spells hammer stone, dust rains down, and through the gap surge masked figures. In canon, one of them would have cut down a fleeing third year. Here, Regulus is already there, shield blooming like a silver dome. The curse hits and skids, shattering against his ward instead of a child's back. Yaxley, he says, recognizing the stance, the lazy arrogance in the way the man holds his wand. Still aiming for the small ones? Yaxley hesitates. Regulus? It is almost comical, the way his mask tilts. You're busy, Regulus replies, and the jewel snaps into being. It is fast, vicious, layered with old Slytherin feints and counters they both know by heart. Regulus drives him back, step by step, using fallen rubble as cover, forcing him into a crossfire with Kingsley's spells. When Yaxley finally falls, stunned and bound, Regulus does not look triumphant. He looks tired. On the staircase above, Lupin and Tonks catch sight of him again, just for a second between volleys. Lupin's face crumples, then hardens. Tonks grips his arm, dragging him back into motion. There is no time to ask how a dead man is walking the corridors of Hogwarts. There is only the next curse, the next shield, the next student to shove behind cover. Elsewhere, Regulus intercepts Dolohov in a side passage that, in another version of this night, would have run red. Dolohov sneers, calls him traitor, throws a curse Regulus taught him. Regulus answers with a binding lattice built from Black Family dueling forms and Peverell precision. A net of light that pins Dolohov to the floor. The battle still sprawls everywhere. Giants crashing against the walls, acromantulas boiling up from the forest, the room of requirement turning into a furnace. Harry and Hermione race toward the diadem. The broad strokes remain, but the lines between those strokes are cleaner, the chaos edged with coordination. Adults move where Regulus points. Students are pulled back from killing zones a heartbeat earlier. The defenders just a little less surprised, each time Voldemort repeats an old trick. Harry feels it as he runs, the way the castle seems to breathe with them instead of against them, as if one more veteran hand on the board shifts the whole pattern of the night. For a moment, it almost feels winnable. Then the air changes, cold and absolute, and Voldemort himself steps onto the grounds. The forest and the shattered soul, Harry's walk with Regulus's shadow behind him. The forest is open and full of watching. Not whispers, not this time. Just breath held, branches still, the whole world waiting to see if one boy will keep walking. Hogwarts grounds, the hour when night feels oldest. Voldemort's magic still clings to the air behind him like smoke. Harry turns away from the castle and toward the trees, and it feels like stepping out of one story and into another that has been waiting for him since before he was born. He has been planning this without admitting it to himself. Every time he traced the scar in the mirror, every time he read Regulus Black's neat, furious notes in the Black family study. The locket. The cave. The single, terrible walk that Regulus took with no Elder Wand, no prophecy, no hallows, no one waiting to follow after. The resurrection stone lies cold and heavy in Harry's hand. A pebble, unremarkable, except that it was once set in the Peverell ring that nearly killed Dumbledore, and that his blood inheritance made it answer him the first time he touched it. He turns it 3 times, once for his parents, once for Sirius, once, without meaning to, for the boy who signed his letter R.A.B., and walked into the dark knowing exactly what waited in that green, poisoned basin. They appear around him. His mother, his father, Sirius, Lupin. Familiar now, but never less astonishing. More than any description could contain. Their faces are thinner, gentler, lit from within by something that is not quite light. He looks at them, they look at him. A moment of understanding passes between them before anyone speaks. They know. They always seem to know everything. Does it hurt? He asks, because he has to. Because he is still 17. Quicker than you think, Sirius says, voice rough and fond. You've seen worse. Behind them, for an instant, Harry thinks he sees another outline. Narrow shoulders, black hair that is not his father's and not Sirius's, but some sharp, in-between echo. A Slytherin cut of robe. A boy who died in a cave and did not die at all. When Harry blinks, the figure is gone. Or perhaps it was never there, just his mind stitching Regulus into the lineage that already surrounds him. He walks. The forest floor is soft, uneven. Each step is a measure. Diary, ring, cup, diadem, locket, destroyed decades ago by a black heir who turned on his master. Nagini, already fallen in the chaos of the last charge. Voldemort's immortality is not a distant, abstract thing anymore. It is a list with almost every item crossed out. He is not the first to walk willingly toward death to weaken that list. Regulus drank poison and faced Inferi so that one fragment would be gone. His mother stood between a crib and a wand. His father followed her. Sirius fell through a veil rather than bow. Dumbledore raised a ruined hand to wear the ring that taught them how Horcruxes break. Harry's chest feels strangely light as he understands it. This is not a solitary act. It is a culmination. The last link in a chain of choices made in drawing rooms, in caves, in banks like Gringotts, in hidden safe houses where Hermione traced runes over old black parchments and whispered, "He started this for you." He has been planning this, but so have they, all of them, in their own times. The shared burden makes the fear smaller, not gone, but shaped. The clearing opens. Voldemort waits. Ring of Death Eaters tight around him. Harry steps into the wandlight. No wand raised, no shield, just the scar and the last Horcrux inside it. For a heartbeat, he thinks of Regulus again, alone in that stone cave, and feels a steadying kinship with a boy he never met. Green light. Falling. The soul fragment in his scar tears free and burns away, joining the diary, the ring, the cup, the diadem, the locket, Nagini. The forest rushes out of focus. When he hits the ground, the war has already changed. The final confrontation in the Great Hall is waiting, and this time, Voldemort is coming to it almost mortal. Final duel, Voldemort faces the sum of every betrayal. The hall is too bright. Too quiet between the screams. Marble floor, scattered wands, the bodies of friends and enemies alike. The enchanted ceiling shows a colourless sky, dawn not yet daring to break. At the far end, like a dark crown above ruin, Voldemort stands beneath the staff table, Nagini's empty cage lying twisted beside him. He looks thinner without the snake, less inevitable. Harry walks forward, every step an echo. He has been planning this, not as a duel of clever spells, but as the last proof that Voldemort's magic of tearing and hoarding souls has already failed. Ron and Hermione stop at the broken line of benches. McGonagall, Kingsley, Andromeda, the Weasleys, the remnants of the Order, the students, they form a rough crescent, watching, more than any description could contain. Voldemort's voice slides over the stones. "You live. Again. Why?" Harry lifts his head. "Because you were wrong about everything that makes a person live." His eyes flick to the Elder Wand in Voldemort's hand, then back. "You think you understand loyalty? You don't. Snape died, proving that. My mother died, proving that. And there was someone before them, earlier than any of us knew." A murmur moves through the survivors. Hermione looks at him, he looks at her. A moment of understanding passes between them. This was in no book, no Gringotts ledger, no blood inheritance chart. This came from a cave, and a house elf's broken voice. "There was a Death Eater," Harry says, louder, for the watching Death Eaters pressed against the walls, for the Slytherins peering from behind shattered tables. "An heir of an ancient house, marked by you. You trusted him enough to send your creature to him. He saw what you did to that creature. He saw the cave, the Inferi, the locket that held a piece of your soul. And he stole it. He destroyed it. Before I was born, Voldemort's red eyes narrow. The Elder Wand twitches. Lies. But there is a tremor in the word. Regulus Arcturus Black, Harry says. The name lands like a spell. For one heartbeat, the Great Hall seems to lean toward Voldemort, waiting. Shock cracks his face open. Genuine, unguarded. Fury follows. Fast and vicious. As if the idea itself is an insult to the order of the world. "A Black," he hisses, "would never defy you?" Another voice answers, clear, carrying. Regulus steps out from the crowd near the staff table, between McGonagall's tartan robes and Kingsley's deep blue. He walks with the controlled precision of a seeker approaching the drop. Shoulders straight, wand already raised. The dark mark burns faintly on his forearm, visible where his sleeve has been pushed back. You gave me that. You thought it meant I belonged to you forever. Death Eaters stare. Some flinch. One man's wand actually dips. Voldemort looks at Regulus as if seeing a ghost that has chosen not to be obedient. His voice is thin. You were dead, not for lack of trying on your part, Regulus says. There is no bravado in it, only a thin edge of irony. Creature got me out. Your potion failed. Your locket didn't. He tips his chin toward Harry. He knows what we did with it. Harry's scar does not burn. There is only the weight of the Elder One's attention, the awareness of its history, the way it seems to lean toward him, though it is gripped in Voldemort's hand. He has been planning this too, counting each broken Horcrux like a rung on a ladder leading here. The diary, the ring, the cup, the diadem, the locket, the snake, the scar. You're almost mortal now, Harry says quietly. Every piece is gone, even the one you never knew you lost. He thinks of a boy in a cave, drinking poison while in theory stirred below black water. He thinks of Creature clutching a fake locket and a letter that never reached its intended reader. The debt that began there has been waiting, patient as old magic. Voldemort raises the Elder Wand. Around them, wands lift on both sides, but the world narrows to a single line between two men and a borrowed wand that will not truly obey. They look at each other. Avada Kedavra. Expelliarmus, green and red collide, twist, reverse. The Elder Wand chooses its master. The killing curse arcs back, impossibly fast, impossibly certain. As Voldemort's body falls, it is not just Harry's victory. It is the last echo of a decision in a cave, the final repayment of a Black Heir's betrayal. And above the silence that follows, something else is gathering, just out of sight, already walking toward the ruined hall. Aftermath. Sirius and Regulus finally speak. The hall is broken and full of echoes. Benches splintered, banners torn, candles guttering in drafts from shattered windows. Hours after the last curse was cast, the Great Hall has become a place for counting. Wands, injuries, names of the dead. Harry stands near the doors, watching healers move, watching Hermione walk between clusters of students, and feels something shift in the air. A door at the side opens. Two men step through. Sirius looks older than Harry has ever seen him, even compared to the gaunt fugitive who first fell through the veil in another world. Shoulders tight, jaw set, hair half-tamed and streaked with grey. Regulus walks beside him, cleaner, robes scorched but mended, a black hair's posture wrapped around a body that has spent years in hiding. They look at each other as if the room has narrowed to a corridor only they can see. For a long moment, they say nothing. Two brothers who once shared a nursery, a house elf, a row of toy broomsticks, now standing on opposite sides of a war's end, carrying scars the other has only guessed at. Sirius's hand flexes at his side. Regulus's fingers brush the inside of his sleeve, where a dark mark has been burned and overwritten by ritual. He has been planning this, Harry realizes. Not just the Horcrux hunt, not just the legal traps through Gringotts and the bank and the Wizengamot. Somewhere in the quiet, Sirius has been planning what he would say if the brother he buried in his mind ever walked back into the light. You died, Sirius says first, not a shout. A statement dragged over broken glass. Regulus's mouth twists. You left. The accusations land between them like dropped wands. Death Eater. Blood traitor. Coward. Fool. None of the words are spoken, but Harry can almost hear them, the way he once heard the locket whispering in another timeline. Regulus looks away first, toward the staff table, toward the place where Voldemort fell. I joined because I thought it was the only way to matter, he says. Father's approval, mother's letters, the great black legacy. You know the script. Sirius snorts, a short, sharp sound. I know. I set it on fire the moment I could walk out the door, and I tried to change it from inside. Regulus's voice hardens. Then, I sent Creature to a cave and watched him come back half dead. I saw what the Dark Lord did to him. To all of us. That was the end of worship. That was the beginning of planning. He speaks of the locket without flourish. The potion, the inferi, the way he destroyed it, not just stole it. The years in Grimald, hidden in walls and wards Sirius never knew existed, working with Creature, sending anonymous tips to the Order, tracking Death Eaters through old Black family contacts. More than any description could contain fits into the pauses between his sentences. Grimald, Sirius says slowly, so that scratching in the walls wasn't doxies. Regulus's mouth almost curves. Sometimes it was me. Sometimes it was Mother's portrait trying to escape. That pulls the smallest, most unwilling huff of laughter from Sirius. She's still calling me a disgrace? She started calling me one too, once she realized I'd betrayed her beloved Dark Lord. Regulus glances toward the ceiling, as if expecting Walburga to descend in a frame. Imagine her face if she saw the tapestry now. The black heir and the black disgrace both on the same side. Fighting Voldemort, Sirius says. From opposite ends of the board, they look at each other. A moment of understanding passes between them. Two different rebellions, same target. So what now? Sirius asks. We go back to that house? Patch up the screaming portrait? Polish the silver? Pretend we're a proper family? Regulus shakes his head. We choose what the name means, or we let it die here. His gaze flicks to Harry, then back. There are records, vaults, old oaths we can break, if we stand together. Harry feels Hermione's presence at his shoulder before she speaks. He looks at her. She looks at him. They both know this is not just about two brothers. It is about a house, a legacy, the way ancient magic can be turned towards something better. Sirius exhales, long and rough. I can't forget Azkaban. I can't forget what you wore on your arm. I can't forget what you called me when you left, Regulus answers. But I can try to build something that makes it matter less. The Great Hall seems to hold its breath. Then Sirius nods, once. Trying, he says. That I can do. They do not embrace, not yet, but they stand side by side, facing the wreckage of the hall, the broken banners, the scattered house tables. In the ruins of their world, the Blacks begin, carefully, to choose a different story. And somewhere beneath them, in ancient stone and older wards, that choice starts to wake other, older promises. Regulus in the new world, from hidden traitor to public hero. The chamber is open and full of whispers. Not the Chamber of Secrets this time, but Courtroom 10, rebuilt and too bright. The chains have been removed from the chair. The magic remains. Regulus Black stands in the center of the floor and feels it testing him, tasting his magic, weighing every mark the Dark Lord left behind. Above him, the tiers of the Wizengamot look like a stone forest. Purple robes, silver fastenings, uneasy faces. Somewhere up there, Hermione leans forward, quill forgotten in her hand. Harry sits beside Kingsley, not as a boy who survived, but as Lord Potter Peverell, who has been planning this testimony since the night the locket shattered on a rune-etched stone table. The Ministry does not know what to do with a man like this, a former Death Eater whose mark still darkens his arm, who can name rituals, safe houses, Gringotts' vault numbers, and who also destroyed a Horcrux before anyone else even knew the word. Prosecute him, some argue, because law must mean something. Pardon him, others counter, because without his locket, without his notes on soul magic, the war would have been longer, bloodier, maybe unwinnable. Honor him? The word hangs in the air like a miscast spell. No one wants to touch it first. Public opinion fractures along old fault lines. In the atrium, witches whisper that at least one Black remembered his duty to the magical world. In Nocturne, they mutter that he turned only after enjoying the protection and power Voldemort offered their kind. The Prophet runs alternating headlines. Regulus Black, unsung hero. One day, and ex-Death Eater dodges justice. The next, older Aurors remember raids where his wand was on the wrong side. Younger ones remember the locket Harry carried into the final campaign, and the way it was already dead. Harry walks to the floor when called. He looks at her. She looks at him. A moment of understanding passes between them, more than any description could contain. Then, he faces the benches and speaks. voice steady. Regulus's information about the cave, the exact wards, the potion, the inferi patterns. How those notes, copied into Hermione's careful hand, let them dismantle protections instead of charge through them. How the locket they found in Grimmauld Place was inert, a scar rather than a weapon, because Regulus had already done the hardest part. Hermione follows. She does not romanticize him. She lists dates, cross-references, the years he spent in self-imposed exile, sending only the occasional unsigned letter through goblin channels, never returning to Voldemort's side even when summoned. He has been planning this, she explains. Not just betrayal, but containment. Safeguards. Warnings about soul magic that most unspeakables still refuse to put in writing. Kingsley, as interim minister, takes the most dangerous stance of all. Nuance. Yes, Regulus bears guilt. Yes, he also shortened the war. The question, Kingsley asks the chamber, is whether a world that wants fewer Death Eaters can afford to crush the first one who truly turned back. When they ask Regulus to speak for himself, he does not bow, does not plead. He only says he wants no statues, no Order of Merlin, no tapestry rewoven in his honor. He wants access to the records on cursed artifacts, to the sealed Department of Mysteries files on Horcrux theory. He wants to help build better wards around the kind of magic that almost devoured them all. The resolution is not clean. It never is. Conditional freedom, the parchment finally reads. Supervised work within a reformed Department of Mysteries, consultant on soul-bound objects and cursed heirlooms. For now, his name remains a question spoken in corridors, but in private reports, in careful new textbooks, a different phrase begins to appear. Regulus Black, the Black who broke a Horcrux. Harry sees it first. Hermione reads over his shoulder. They look at each other, and somewhere deep in the ministry, behind doors older than any of them, the wards adjust to make room for a man who was once an enemy, and is now something far harder to name. The Black legacy reforged, Grimmauld as a sanctuary, not a fortress. The house is listening. Number 12, Grimmauld Place, no longer snarls when the door opens. It exhales. Dust lifts in slow spirals as if something old has unclenched its hands. Months after the war, Regulus stands in the front hall with Sirius, Harry just behind them, and looks up at the largest wound in the building, while Burger Black, screaming forever in oil and pigment. He has been planning this since the cave, since he understood what it meant to let a house devour its children in the name of purity. Now, one steady, he traces a series of runes Hermione helped refine, quiet, elegant lines of unbinding and witness. The canvas shivers, the frame cracks. For the first time in decades, the portrait does not shriek. It simply fades, leaving bare wall and a faint smell of smoke. Sirius laughs, sharp and startled, like he does not quite trust the sound. "Took you long enough," he says. Regulus does not answer. He looks at Harry instead. A moment of understanding passes between them. This is not erasure. This is removal of a weapon. The work spreads outward from that point. Cursed music boxes, blood-stained daggers, cabinets that whisper in Parseltongue. Hermione walks the halls with Regulus and Creature, a ledger hovering at her shoulder, quill scratching notes, origin, function, countercurse, decision, destroy, contain, study under supervision only. The Black Library becomes their anchor, shelves once devoted to domination now stacked with careful annotations, marginal warnings, cross-references to ministry case files, and new, sober textbooks on dark magic prevention. He looks at her. She looks at him. She has been planning this too, in her own way. Every time she read a footnote about a banned ritual and thought, we could do better than fear and silence. Together they design new wards, etched into stone and woven through the flue, keyed not to blood but to intent. The house will admit anyone bearing a black signet or a Potter or Weasley key, yes, but it will also open for those registered as war orphans, for witches and wizards on ministry probation, for anyone Hermione's quill has marked as seeking sanctuary. The first test of those wards is not a Death Eater. It is Teddy Lupin, 3 years old, hair changing colour as he barrels down the corridor after a bewitched toy dragon. Harry gives chase, laughing, nearly colliding with a red-haired girl who will one day be a Weasley daughter. her wand sparking as she tries a shield charm that ricochets off a suit of armor. The crash echoes up the stairwell, where once only Walburga's rage lived. Now it is followed by giggles, by Sirius's theatrical groan, by Regulus's quiet, disbelieving smile. Years pass. More children arrive, Potter boys and girls, Weasley cousins, a shy Slytherin orphan who flinches at loud noises and eventually learns to fly a broom in the long drawing room. The house remembers every step. Its wards adjust, learn, accept. In the tapestry room, the air still feels heavy, but it is no longer suffocating. The great black family tree hangs scorched and torn. Sirius stands with his arms folded. Regulus stands with his hands behind his back. Between them, the burned holes where names once were. Andromeda, Sirius himself, others. What do we do with it? Harry asks. He knows this is not just cloth. It is a record and a sentence. Regulus has been planning this too. Not a simple restoration, a revision. Hermione brings parchment, inks in different colours. Together they decide the burned spaces will not be quietly mended as if nothing happened. They will be outlined in silver, labelled with small, precise script. Disowned for blood traitor. Chose Muggleborns over mania. Fled the mark. Fought at Hogwarts. New threads appear as well, running sideways. A dotted line from Andromeda to Teddy. A bold line from Regulus and Sirius to Harry. Annotated simply. Chose differently. Names stay. Regulus says at last. So do choices. Sirius nods, jaw tight. They look at each other. A moment of understanding passes between them that is more than any description could contain. By the time the new wards settle fully, Grimald's door is no longer hidden behind quite so much distrust. The Fidelius remains, but within its boundaries the threshold changes. A former Death Eater with shaking hands arrives one rain-soaked evening, letter from the probation office in his pocket, asked to report for rehabilitative study. Behind him, a girl of 9 with no family name left at all clutches a threadbare bag containing everything she owns. The door recognizes their fear and their intent. It opens. Inside, the black crest still hangs above the fireplace, unchanged and yet utterly altered by the lives beneath it. The house that was once a fortress of supremacy has become something stranger in the magical world, a place where the descendants of dark families and the children they once hunted share a table, a library, a future. And somewhere deep in the wood and stone, the old magic adjusts again, making room for a new definition of what it means to be a black. Horcrux law and memory, ensuring no one splits a soul again. The chamber is open and full of whispers, not a cave this time, but a courtroom, white marble and dark wood, the air thick with quills scratching and enchanted recording orbs humming softly. It is 5 years after Voldemort's fall. Risingamet Hall. Regulus Black stands where Death Eaters once stood to be condemned, but the chains on the witness chair lie slack and motionless. He looks thinner than the tapestry showed, older than he should be, but his eyes are steady as he watches the new law being read, the regulation and prohibition of soul fragmentation and Horcrux like artifacts, 1999. He has been planning this testimony for months, going over every entry in his old journals with Hermione, cross-checking each memory with Dumbledore's notes and the fragments Harry pulled from the Pensieve. Every curse he watched Voldemort cast, every ritual he half understood as a teenager, becomes evidence now. The Ministry's new department of cursed artifacts and soul integrity is born in that echoing room, its mandate written in ink and fear: classify, contain, dismantle, never again. Hermione sits in the public gallery, a stack of parchment on her lap, quill tapping her knee. She has her own title now, part of a joint Gringotts Ministry research board on prescribed magics. The bank insisted cursed objects cost them vaults, goblins, gold. Together they built procedures, layered detection charms for soul magic residue, mandatory curse breaker review for any heirloom older than 2 centuries, binding oaths for anyone studying the theory. She knows it is not perfect, but it is something. From those hearings grows a strange new discipline, half academic, half battlefield craft. Curse breakers from Gringotts, unspeakables from the Department of Mysteries, arithmancers from Beauxbatons and rune masters from Durmstrang sit at the same tables, arguing over how you define a soul in spell lore. They walk through reconstructed memories of the cave, of diary ink that thought, of a ring that bled time. Their goal is not to replicate Voldemort's work, but to recognize the shape of it in any future experiment and cut it apart before it roots. The question, of course, is how much to share with children. At Hogwarts, the staff room argument runs late into the night. McGonagall's lips are thin. Flitwick drums his fingers. Some want a clean omission, teach nothing, lock the knowledge away with the Hallows and the war. Others, led quietly by Hermione and Professor Babbling, argue for structured, ugly truth. A single NEWT-level module, the ethics of soul magic, the documented cost, the way Regulus's skin greyed and his mind frayed after the cave. A cautionary tale, not a manual. Harry listens more than he speaks. He looks at her. She looks at him. They both remember how ignorance felt. In the end, the compromise is brittle, but real. Younger students hear only that there are magics so foul they are forbidden. Older ones, under oath and supervision, study redacted case files, see the Locket's cracked shell, read Regulus's shaking script beside Dumbledore's calm annotations. A moment of understanding passes between them as they turn those pages. This is what trying to own death does to you. Regulus himself becomes the strangest kind of curriculum. The Death Eater who walked into the dark and came back with a destroyed Horcrux and a ruined body. His pensive testimony is played in aura training, in Wizengamot seminars, in closed Hogwarts lectures. He does not spare himself. He names the thrill, the devotion, the slow corrosion of choosing Voldemort. More than any description could contain, the sight of his regret becomes the real defense. Will that stop the next witch or wizard who thinks they have found a cleverer path around the grave? Probably not. But this time, the world Voldemort leaves behind is thick with wards and watchfulness. Legal wards in statute books, diagnostic wards in hospitals, conceptual wards in the minds of students who have seen what a broken soul looks like. Somewhere beneath the hall, in a sealed archive, a new kind of alarm charm waits, keyed to the specific magical signature of soul rending. And on a quiet evening, when that charm flickers for the first time in years, Harry feels it like a chill through the old black wards and knows, with a sinking certainty, that the story is not finished yet. Harry and Regulus, two boys who said no to the same monster. The house answers first. A shiver through the wards, a soft adjustment of portraits and doors, as if Grimmauld Place is learning new patterns of footsteps and making room for them. Harry walks its corridors now, not as a boy dragged here for safety, but as heir and student both. He has been planning this without quite naming it. These quiet visits between aura shifts, between Wizengamot sessions, back to the house where Regulus Black did the one thing no one else in that first war even imagined. Destroy a piece of Voldemort's soul and live. They sit most often in the smaller drawing room, away from the screaming portrait that no longer screams. Regulus looks thinner than his age should allow, cave scars and curse work leaving a kind of carefulness in his movements, but his voice, when Harry asks, is steady. Tell me about the early years, about the mark, about why you said yes. The questions are blunt, almost clinical, but the way Harry's fingers curl around a chipped teacup gives him away. Regulus answers like a man unpicking an old ward, slowly, layer by layer. The letters at school promising purpose, the glamour of being chosen, the quiet thrill of walking into rooms his parents had only whispered about. He talks about how Voldemort's ideology dressed itself up as tradition, how pure blood pride slid into cruelty so gradually that he almost did not notice until Kreacher came back from the cave broken. A moment of understanding passes between them when he admits the worst part, that for a while he liked the power. From Regulus's side, the view is stranger. He remembers James as a blur of Quidditch robes and laughter, a rival his parents despised. Now James's son sits opposite him with Lily's eyes and something harder behind them, a boy Regulus once heard of only as a prophecy and a Dark Lord's obsession. He looks at Harry's scar, at the way Harry never quite relaxes his shoulders, and realizes this is not a symbol. This is a person who has walked into death twice and come back carrying more than any description could contain. The pattern shifts one evening when Harry asks, very quietly, What did it feel like? In the cave? When you drank? Regulus does not deflect. He describes the potion as a lie that tastes like truth, forcing him to watch creature drown again and again. His near death is cold, grasping hands and green light pressed against the back of his eyes. Harry answers with a forest, with the way the resurrection stone failed to make death less real, with the moment he walked toward Voldemort's wand and chose not to raise his own. They look at each other. It is not competition, not a tally of sacrifices, but a strange, solemn inventory. Cave and forest, Locket and Scar. Two boys who decided to walk into the center of the spell instead of away from it. Sometimes Hermione joins them, parchment already covered in notes. She asks about black family oaths and old Grimmauld rituals, then sets them beside Muggle-born stories of blood tests in corridors and whispered slurs in classrooms. She will not let this become only a tale of noble houses and ancient lines. She keeps tugging the thread back to the world outside these walls, to the children who never had a tapestry at all. On a late autumn night, the three of them stand before that tapestry. It is altered now, burn marks softened, new threads stitched in by careful house elf hands. Regulus's name is no longer scorched away. Sirius's star has been rewoven with a steadier light. Harry's own place glows faintly, an adopted point in a once dark constellation. Regulus looks at the branching lines, at generations who marched willingly into Voldemort's shadow. Harry looks too, seeing the same blood that tied them to that world, the same blood that Voldemort coveted and cursed. Choice, Regulus says at last, is the only thing this wall never understood. Harry nods. So do I. They walk back down the corridor side by side, past portraits that are learning new names. Behind them, the tapestry hangs very still, carrying a quiet, stubborn fact. Blood built this house. But choice finally opened its doors. What changed? What stayed? Comparing canon to the Regulus AU. The house is quiet and listening. Downstairs, someone laughs in the kitchen. Upstairs, Harry stands in the Black family corridor and tries to sort what has actually changed from the story he knows. On the surface, the great events still line up like familiar stones in a river. Voldemort falls in Godric's Hollow. A baby survives. A Dark Lord's body is destroyed, his soul clinging on, thinner than in canon, but still present. Harry still grows up in the cupboard, still walks to school with broken glasses and a too large shirt, still learns about the magical world from a letter that should have come much earlier. Hogwarts is still there, waiting, sorting, classes, Quidditch, friends and enemies in hallways that smell of dust and potion smoke. The prophecy is still spoken in a dark room and still misheard through a door. Dumbledore still looks at Harry over half-moon spectacles and sees both weapon and child. A tower still waits for a green flash. A castle still becomes a battlefield. But under those stones, the riverbed is different. The locket is gone in 1979, not 1997. Regulus drinks the potion, survives the cave, destroys the Horcrux in a ritual that leaves scars on his magic and on Creature's mind. Voldemort's soul structure is not shattered yet, but it is cracked early. A hairline fracture that makes every later loss more destabilizing. He has been planning this war for decades. Now something invisible pushes him off balance. For Dumbledore, the Horcrux hunt no longer begins with a cursed hand and a desperate guess. It starts with an old Black-Heir's records, a destroyed locket, a pattern. He has been planning this too, but the timeline bends. He knows earlier. He moves earlier. He still dies on the tower, because the wand and the boy and the story demand it, yet he dies with more pieces already off the board. For the trio, the difference is quieter but cruelly important. There is still a tent, still fear, still hunger and cold, but there is no locket around Harry's neck, no constant whisper that gnaws at the softest places. Ron still leaves once, but he leaves from ordinary human frustration, not from an artifact amplifying every doubt. Hermione still cries by the river, yet the wound is smaller, cleaner. When they look at each other again, a moment of understanding passes between them that is theirs, not something the locket tried to steal. Regulus's presence in the final war folds the generations together. The Order does not just have Harry, the Chosen One. It has a former Death Eater who knows the inner circles, who can walk through pure blood-drawing rooms and hear which way the wind is turning. The story shifts from a single boy against the dark to a chain of resistance. A black heir in a cave, a potter's sacrifice, a boy in a cupboard, a girl with a library card, and a blood inheritance test at Gringotts. Pure blood families stop being one solid wall of villains. The blacks fracture in public, while Burger rages. Some cousins hesitate. Slytherin house whispers. A few oaths never get spoken. The world looks at these old names and sees not just cruelty, but conflict. Snape, in this version, stands between two traitors instead of one. Lily on one side, Regulus on the other, both having turned away from Voldemort for love of something he cannot fully name. Sirius has to look at his brother and realize that the boy he dismissed as a coward walked into the cave first and kept walking. Kreacher, who watched one black die and one black live, becomes a witness to both redemptions, carrying stories that are more than any description could contain. In the end, one night in that cave is the hinge. One choice not to die, but to fight differently, sends echoes through every era of the war. The battles still happen, the castle still burns, but the meaning of heroism shifts, from solitary martyrdom to something shared, argued over, carried by many hands. And when the final curse falls in the Great Hall, it does so in a world where Harry is not the first person who dared to touch Voldemort's soul and say, "No more." The question is, what does a world built on that earlier no do next? Denouement, Regulus Black, the first to defy Voldemort's immortality. The cave is still there. Cold water, Black Lake, the soft, sickening splash of inferi hands breaking the surface. Once, that was the end of his story. A Locket's green glow, a boy's last, terrified breath. Now, years later, that same memory walks beside an older man as he stands in Hogwarts' Great Hall and watches Voldemort fall for the final time. The hall is wrecked, smoke, rubble, the echo of spells still buzzing in the stone. Regulus stands near the back, half in shadow, cloak torn, wand low at his side. He looks at Harry, across the distance between them. Harry looks back, chest heaving, the elder wand slack in his hand. A moment of understanding passes between them. The Dark Lord is gone, and both of them know that this ending began in another place, with another choice. He has been planning this, Regulus thinks, remembering his own plan instead. A stolen night, a house elf's shaking hands, a potion he forced himself to drink. From teenage Death Eater to disillusioned heir, from the boy who parroted pure blood slogans at family dinners, to the young man who walked back into that cave, determined to turn Voldemort's own magic against him. In this world, he did not die there. He crawled out, half drowned and half mad, Locket clutched to his chest, Kreacher dragging him toward the light. Years pass. He becomes a rumor in Grimmald's walls, a ghost who never quite appears, the unknown hand behind missing artifacts and vanished Death Eater ledgers. He learns to move like a shadow through a magical war, destroying the Locket in secret, recording everything he has learned about Horcruxes in a tight, controlled script that will one day land on Dumbledore's desk, then on Harry's. From would-be martyr to secret Horcrux destroyer to acknowledged architect of the Dark Lord's downfall, the arc is not smooth, but it holds, and that is the quiet subversion at the heart of this timeline. The first person to truly attack Voldemort's immortality is not a prophesied child, not a chosen one raised outside the magical world, but a black heir shaped in the very ideology that birthed the Death Eaters. He takes the creed he was given, purity, legacy, power, and turns it sideways, using blood inheritance and old family lore to find the cracks in a soul that thought itself unbreakable. How do future history books tell that story? In some, he is a controversial figure, footnoted with caution. A former Death Eater who changed sides too late, whose letters and records are cited, but whose name is spoken carefully. In others, especially those Hermione presses into new Hogwarts curricula, he is a symbol of the possibility of redemption, proof that even the deepest indoctrination can fracture when it meets cruelty face to face. And in a few, he is barely a paragraph, overshadowed by Harry's visible heroism and the spectacle of open battle. The text looks one way, the truth is more than any description could contain. Years after the war, the Great Hall is repaired. The cave remains remote, its secrets washed clean. But one last cursed artifact still waits in Grimald's cellar, a relic of some older black bargain. Regulus walks down alone. No crowd, no prophecy, just dust, stone, a faint malignant hum in the air. He studies the object, remembers the locket's weight, the way evil can look ordinary until you touch it. Then he sets wards, speaks a word he learnt in that first terrible cave, and the curse dies with a thin, almost disappointed sigh. He stands in the dark for a moment. Then he turns, climbs the stairs. Upstairs, the house is different. Children's voices, Hermione arguing with a portrait about voting reform. Harry laughing in the kitchen with Sirius over some old bank record they have finally untangled. They look at each other as Regulus steps into the light. No one mentions the cellar. No one needs to. Behind him, the door to the old darkness is closed. Ahead, the world is untidy, unfinished, alive. He walks forward. Your turn in the cave, imagining your own what-ifs. The cave is quiet now. No green potion. No hands dragging anyone under. Regulus stands in the doorway of Grimald Place's kitchen, watching Harry and Sirius argue amiably over a Gringotts ledger, listening to Hermione explain to Teddy why wards care about blood inheritance and intent. The war is over in this world, but the night the locket died is still a stone dropped into deep water. The ripples keep moving. This is where it becomes yours. You have walked with him through the cave and back again, watched him refuse to drown, watched him become the quiet axis around which an old house turned. But there are so many corners we have only glanced at. What if he had written a letter to Sirius years earlier, shaky handwriting on stolen parchment, instead of waiting until the cave forced his hand? What if that owl had reached Azkaban or Dumbledore's desk, or been intercepted in some dim ministry corridor? He has been planning this, you can say, and mean a different plan each time. Imagine Dumbledore finding Regulus before the end, a meeting in some neutral room above the bank, goblin witnesses and cold tea, the headmaster looking at the boy he dismissed as a name on a tapestry. Does Dumbledore tell him everything about Horcruxes, or almost everything? Does Regulus walk back into Voldemort's ranks as a sharper, more deliberate spy, or refuse and force Dumbledore to move his pieces sooner, or turn the angle? Voldemort feels the loss of the locket early, not as a clear break, but as a wrongness he cannot name. He looks at his followers. He looks at Regulus. In your version, does the Dark Lord hunt the traitor in time, driving Regulus into open alliance with the Order? Or does he tear his own inner circle apart, chasing a ghost he never finds? Tell me where you would stand in that cave. Was your favourite moment the first survival? The Gringotts heist, with a black heir who knows every cursed vault by number? The brothers' reunion on a rain-slick rooftop? Or the late, quiet conversations between Harry and Regulus when they finally speak, not as weapon and relic, but as two boys who know too much about death? If there is a scene that stayed with you, name it. If there is a line you would have them say, write it. They look at each other. You can decide what passes between them. From here, the path branches. Perhaps you want a prequel, all sharp edges and dark robes, following Regulus through his first years as a Death Eater, learning what he is willing to do and what he will never do again. Or a thin stack of letters between Snape and Regulus, two Slytherins circling trust without ever naming it. Or you might walk forward instead, into a next-generation story where Teddy and the Potter children grow up, with both Black brothers in their lives, Sunday dinners at Grimald, old war stories carefully edited for young ears. On this channel, we keep returning to the same quiet idea. One almost forgotten choice, one overlooked character, can tilt an entire saga. A house elf ordered to live, a boy in a cupboard who goes to the bank early, a girl who reads a contract all the way to the end. More than any description could contain, these small pivots redraw the map. So if you want to see this world unfold further, to follow Regulus into other shadows of the magical world, to watch how far one refused drowning can reach, let me know. Like the video, subscribe, so you do not miss the next What If, and share your own version of the night in the cave in the comments. The door to the old darkness is closed. The story, if you choose to walk with him, is not.